shit I say, I don't referee. If you got a problem, you can message me. Y'all been mucking on Twitter, y'all been talking big game. Y'all been sounding so bitter when you mention my name. I just gave you 2 lines, I don't grant you no fame. May you're out of your mind, now get out of my way. Y'all been talking about girls that don't even know you. Y'all been flexing on cars you don't even own too. Y'all been saying y'all rich, but you know it's not true. I've been stating my shit, now let me show you. What's up? I need more, I need better, feel the pressure on my chest. Need my wings on a sweater, need to always do my best. See you reading, see you typing, gotta say I'm not impressed. Got my focus on my goals, man, I gotta be obsessed. I don't have a sleep mode, I can't have no 9 to 5. And I don't break ties, but I'm working overtime. This is me against me, I am never satisfied. I don't see no competition in anyone but fly. Yeah. Man, I always keep it writing, yeah, I keep it low key till I go mad tight. Man, I swear you don't love it if you never feel frightened. And I swear I'm not bluffing, I'ma always keep fighting, yeah. No, the thing is, like, y'all say y'all gonna change, but none of y'all ever change. That's shit.
Damn, Aiden, you a killer.
Hey, yo, Jeezy, you done did it on this one.
Jesus turned in, but it ain't the one from church in. Got a curve in, man, they ain't gon' put the work in. Copping out the clerk in, bout to buy a Birkin. Lurk up in my perk, so I'm out of perk lurking. VIP section, leave it with your best friend. Oh, we wipe my ex, call it leave it sloppy seconds. Want to smoke dead man, send him up to heaven. It ain't test bitch, I'm about to ball and blow. Yo, chick, why she calling for? Bands in the stand, they just finna grow. Wonder what I wish and where the fuck I got the flow, like. Everybody wanna know, so where the fuck I finna go, like. I just had to let them know. Cooking art like Van Gogh. Daughter from the cops on the block, made a bango. Chains on G, got me feeling like Django. Django, gold up on my neck, make a look away my Django. Art like Van Gogh, darn made a bango. Chain rope jangle, feeling like Django. Django, Django, push away keys like I'm playing piano. Bam, go Rambo, bands in the bando. Came in with two bitches cause it's taken two to tango. Your man's like a mango, we fruity made the mango. Pulling on the block cause I'm going where you can't go. Bitch, I'm on the clock so the roller keep ticking. You bitch up on my cock cause these hoes keep tricking. Am I doing what you not? Got the game on fucking lock. I've been shooting my shots, Scottie Pippen, drippin'. Okay, look. Wrists in the glisten, make your bitches wanna go. Flipping on the fish and I've been sniffing on the low. Bands on the stand, they just finna grow. Soul everything yeah, except my soul. I just had to let them know. Cooking art like Van Gogh. Daughter from the cops up on the block, I made a Van Gogh. Chains on G, got me feeling like Django. Django, gold up on my neck, make a look away my Django. Art like Van Gogh, darn made a bango. Chain rope jangle, feeling like Django. Django, Django, push away keys like I'm playing piano.
and seek the end or begin. It depends on how you're looking at it. Until then I'll be sinning, descended in the portal. No more juice in the flask, no use depending on the mortals. Ain't the easiest task. I'm overzealous, I'm a radical, meaning an archangel. Viewing it from the heavens of humans that aren't grateful. Taking the filter, cleansing blood and we bathe up in a benzo. Ridding myself of depression by taking my place inside of a dead zone. Need no coffin burials to soak the debris. These ceremonial rituals practiced down to a T. Lost track of the demons out of Pandora's box. Road into redemption coming after a night. I got the chains up on my flesh, I'm in a liminal space. To rip the veins up out my chest, look how we fallen from grace. Empty the heavens, a flood of no safe ships. Rain down the rain and we covered the wings clip. Flew close to the sun, now the tales do tell. When we angered the gods with no lives to sell. Empty the heavens, a flood of no safe ships. Rain down the rain and we covered the wings clip. Flew close to the sun, now the tales do tell. When we angered the gods with no lives to sell.
I'm taking the face from you when I walk in the room. You never debating it ain't on you while you act like a tool. I broke the data bank and show where you log in and move. I be interested now when I said it existential assuming. If I said it, it's soon. No, I ain't waiting for pain in the moment, cause I ain't faking and fucking this all about the niggas. Keeping me from production. It doesn't appeal to me the second up to deal with the fun. We'll never run for a buck and we'll never run for a bill. I'm at the front of the shuttle, punching the blood in the shit. Evacuate him out the way, I'm in immaculate meal. I turn him up into the dust when they ain't running but still. I don't know what the fuck assumption that you well in your head. Really the fact is I ain't running but nobody in dread. I face it every single morning when I wake in this mess. And I've been breaking this reportal since I break my stress. Yeah. I'm breaking this reportal since I break my stress. I'm breaking this reportal since I break my stress.
Empty the heavens, a flood of no safe ships. Rain down the red and we covered the wings clip. Flew close to the sun, now the tales do tell. When we angered the gods with no lives to sell. Empty the heavens, a flood of no safe ships. Rain down the red and we covered the wings clip. Flew close to the sun, now the tales do tell. When we angered the gods with no lives to sell.
I know my mental health can't take it, I'ma fucking die. Man, I feel dead inside.
side. But them other guys, I know my mental health can't take it, I'ma fucking die. I need that medication and that fornication. I wanna fly away and die and get it out the basement.
We do wanna be saved, but we're the ones that are able. Nobody shielded or even concealed it clean from judgment. We could try to be good here, life not that we should fear. On the ground and below the clouds, what's after is redundant. We do wanna be saved, but we're the ones that are able. Nobody shielded or even concealed it clean from judgment. We could try to be good here, life not that we should fear. On the ground and below the clouds, what's after is redundant. Shit Fresno way, but then in LA5 wanna say it's unfair, disenfranchised. We ain't got each other on a first name basis. So you knew me before I became famous. Only thing I'm missing is the fame, bitch. Cloud ticket, don't keep it real with a real lame bitch. Teaching lessons, that's a good impression. No YCK, better repossession. Up with a group of people that still no mark that will make my diesel. I sealed my fate on the day I was made as one entity. Trusting my will, let nobody prevented me. I don't want a sidekick, but I'm running quite sick. From under the bending like a motherfucking sidekick. Got no more faith than humanity. Throw sage on my grave just to banish me. We do wanna be saved, but we're the ones that are able. Nobody shielded or even concealed it clean from judgment. We could try to be good here, life not that we should fear. On the ground and below the clouds, what's after is redundant. We do wanna be saved, but we're the ones that are able. Nobody shielded or even concealed it clean from judgment. We could try to be good here, life not that we should fear. On the ground and below the clouds, what's after is redundant.
Keeping it solo like Kevin McAllister, burning the minis, I light up the canister, burning the doctrine and scaring the pastors. Reincarnation of sin and a bastard. How do I believe it when there is no arc? How am I the light when there is no dark? Who am I to say that I won't be brought to the depths of the ground with the angels rock? Billion to the sins of the set arms of the one in the shadows you didn't check for. Call me more name, but you're filling the canvas. Now my memory's gone like a nail up a canvas. Seas of my sins and my bones only glides in the structure they made. Now it turns into bands. How I see fit, you would never be shit. Never try to get in heaven, I would never reach it.
We do wanna be saved, but we're the ones that are able. Nobody shielded or even concealed it clean from judgment. We could try to be good here, life not that we should fear. On the ground and below the clouds, what's after is redundant. We do wanna be saved, but we're the ones that are able. Nobody shielded or even concealed it clean from judgment. We could try to be good here, life not that we should fear. On the ground and below the clouds, what's after is redundant. Whether y'all bad when they rap, I don't cap. Picking that 20 plays and that's making you mad. There ain't no room in the mainstream love for you when your song's so bad it's entertaining me too. Bitch, sing in the key, please sing in the mic. They be charging a fee for the studio time. That's a way of thinking, operator. You don't get a moment, you attend the deal. You got even more indebted. Like damn, now how does that medicine taste? When I'm flowing, I can feel the words embedded in grain. Dodging the chaplain my reticent way, and I don't give a shit what Genesis say. Don't try to tell me who is immoral. Let me ask all the ones who've been killing that coral at the bottom of the sea. It ain't a problem to me. Think we're better off dead, that we all can agree. All you motherfuckers eating shit, nuggets, taking a style, think you did something. I made it work, bitch, I've been done it, no, I ain't gonna quit. I won't kick buckets, all the copycats made that song. Top of the charts, damn, that's wrong. Who gives a shit what they want with the fake chains and the cash they flaunt? All you motherfuckers eating shit, nuggets, taking a style, think you did something. I made it work, bitch, I've been done it, no, I ain't gonna quit. I won't kick buckets, all the copycats made that song. Top of the charts, damn, that's wrong. Who gives a shit what they want with the fake chains and the cash they flaunt? they all glad? Better be another servant to the ones at the top. They ain't even been working, there ain't no space in the mainstream. You would take all these shackles and chains you would try but can't break. Auto-tune vocals, impressing the moguls. I will not collab with a rapper that's local. Rapping on the beat, I feel it's MIA 80 on the 41, yeah that's this highway. Will it really make a dirt that you won't get nowhere? Making ordinary shit that you could say no fair. Making money sleeping from the different time zones. Playing YC and K in a million zip codes. Don't even say who be on the come up. There ain't no one I know none of these dumb fucks. Don't care now, I know I won't care then. When their 15-minute fame's up, called it again. All you motherfuckers eating shit. Nuggets, taking a style, think you did something. I made it work, bitch, I've been done it, no I ain't gonna quit. I won't kick buckets, all the copycats made that. So, the charge 10 pats. Piece of shit, what day? One with the fake chains and the cash stay flowing. All you motherfuckers eating shit. Nuggets, taking a style, think you did something. I made it work, bitch, I've been done it, no I ain't gonna quit. I won't kick buckets, all the copycats made that. Song, top of the charts, 10 pats. Wrong, who gives a shit, what day? One with the fake chains and the cash stay flowing.
And now you learn the true lesson of the void.
Protectors, come to my aid.
Yet another of the Kyrion's loyal servants. Have you come here to be slaughtered as well?
We don't need names. You're the new slaves. Lining up their pockets, inhumane, and look who's talking. We don't need names. You're the new slaves. Lining up their pockets, inhumane, and look who's talking. Eyes real low, blowing up the weed slow. Fuck anybody knocking down on triple people. I'm at the attachments, promise all the cashmen. No bills marked, passed out from the absent. I don't want to side sweating in the sweatshop, which I come up with a weapon, even for a shell shock. Holding me accountable, legal reliability. Failing to recognize when I'm injecting is killing me. Stricken and wicked, I'm forbidden. I'm a holy guardian, needs a reason. Take a bigger sign and nail it through my arteries. I'm feeling like I'm dying on molecular levels. It's my receptors and directing through the messenger vessel. I'm so far. Living in time is only carcinogenic. Food is supposed to be a motor coded. It must be genetic. You wouldn't know this day to day without the face to face with death. My cessation and location at a later date and depth. We don't need names. You're the new slaves. Lining up their pockets, inhumane, and look who's talking. We don't need names. You're the new slaves. Lining up their pockets, inhumane, and look who's talking. Underground renaissance, I'm a Machiavelli. I'm an archetype, I started fire wheels up in my belly. I'm a vegan, bonding outcast of the game. Talking about some mid-boosting and talking gold chains. Now you're not appeal to me, cause they don't seem to real to me. And you won't see me checking into one of these facilities. See push back as I watch the world burn. Stay the buzzing in these racks, cause I make the world turn. So all the dirty solid fuckers that crowd around the spot. We never do want a president testing, and we do not want the cops showing their faces unannounced. A circle around the parking lot, and nobody's giving a fuck about your girl with any common tops. Of course it's unfortunate, corpses going in the foreign. It's messing up with the coordinates. I'm more free to support, and it might have intended to offend reaction. Anaphylactic, I got some strong opinions, I continue to stay problematic. We don't need names. You're the new slaves. Lining up their pockets, inhumane, and look who's talking. We don't need names. You're the new slaves. Lining up their pockets, inhumane, and look who's talking. Boys, they be plotting, I'm beside it as I part the sea. You can run, but there's no one invited stepping up to me. Never afraid to put me on, but this game wasn't mine to keep. And my breathing drag me under RIP to all this shit. Boys, they be plotting, I'm beside it as I part the sea. You can run, but there's no one invited stepping up to me. Never afraid to put me on, but this game wasn't mine to keep. And my breathing drag me under RIP to all this shit.
Run out.
Wanted a buzz for effort, but not achievement. Tell me how that works. Want me to comment? What's the reason? I never joined this circle, jerking eternally yearning for the demise. In the meantime, giving up purple birds. Just popping my blood, just like a surgeon. Recognizing this hard to see. You can run, but there's no riding. It's stepping up to me. They're afraid to put me on, but this game wasn't mine to keep. Am I breathing? RIP, all the shit. The boys, they be riding up beside it as I put the sea. You can run, but there's no riding. It's stepping up to me. They're afraid to put me on, but this game wasn't mine to keep. Am I breathing? Drag me under RIP, all the shit. You cannot repent it, right? Representative, as executive, fundamentalist, how do we know what opinions are tether, abortion agenda, dissertation, how they recommend this information. Plastic around as a paper base and take hold of the bill with a bigger payment. I was in the staff like a bomb attack, I'm a make my belt, we're talking a rack, that this right, this said, I am insane, nigga, pass all the veins, up, back in the range, the ground shake when I put sound waves inside every trade, this time in the right, when it's so damn rich, and the rain, no clouds, when it goes up, and the back's up, boys, they be riding up beside it as I turn to see. You can run, but there's no riding, it's stepping up to me. Never afraid to put me on, but this game wasn't mine to keep. Am I breathing? Drag me under RIP for all the shit. Boys, they be riding up beside it as I turn to see. You can run, but there's no riding, it's stepping up to me. Never afraid to put me on, but this game wasn't mine to keep. Am I breathing? Drag me under RIP for all the shit.
Prize creation. I am sure he would gladly
take. Watch your step.
Guess it would be untrue. I'm the one who knocks on the cleanup crew. Army of one, bitch, I ain't the captain. I just wanted money, but I'm glad I didn't tap in. I'm a solo strong, you're the kind of motherfuckers that we don't go for. You're the kind of pussy behind a closed door that would say a lot of things, but you ought to watch your back for a bit. Stamina, wind, dry ice in the seas per cap with a head, no profit margin. These cops are calling, and I'm a man on earth, but I'm a god and conquer. We don't sell exclusives, you could grab a leaks, a cardiac inducing substance for cheap. And those are running my right to be really bitch about it. Company fucking up if you think I'm a mission. Gloves off, leaving the prints. Told me you're better, but I'm not convinced. I know that you're flexing.
Crowd control.
Back up, ducking the fence. Told me you're selling on bullets and threats. You've been over Boston, I know how.
Watch your step.
Gloves off, leaving the prints. Told me you're better, but I'm not convinced. I know that you're flexing. Face, but I don't. Back up, ducking the fence. Told me which side you're on, bullets and threats. You've been double Boston, I know how.
Watch your step.
Shoot you meant to use it, but then you then disappear. I've been doing my thing and it just comes clear. You won't reach my standard, you won't let me end.
Watch your step.
I'm gonna do it, maybe I'll give an answer. Yeah, cash speaks, but I'm not in that speech. Underneath the table, signing their voices, the text free. Fucking whenever I'm headed into your city, you're so afraid of the odds.
Watch
and
your
uncertainty
step.
with me, cause I'm atypical. For me, got no faith and I'm cynical. Legal physical rappers are cloning, that's a permissible. Liquor wishing the wealth, with the exhibit they sell. You're trying to make a living, but already living it now. What is it you're doing that's setting you from the west? You got this
down close.
Committed, I'm unimpressed. Study some more, you better not skip past. We won't let the mediocre move on, I slip past.
Watch your step.
Leaving the prints. Tell me you're better, but I'm not convinced. I know that you're flexing fakes, but back up, ducking the fence. Told me which side you're on, bullets and threats. You've been double crossing, but no, I won't. Gloves off, leaving the prints. Told me you're better, but I'm not convinced. I know that you're flexing fakes, but I don't. Back up, ducking the fence. Told me which side you're on, bullets and threats.
Attack shield. Interrupt. Frontal. Frontal. Interrupt. Attack shield. Frontal. Frontal.
Face necromancer. Thanatos will.
Go party, probably all the tears. Bitches don't bother, we don't need you here. Never remember who you biggest creating out the mall. Ain't gotta shoot a motherfucker licking out the hall. Go party, probably all the tears. Bitches don't bother, we don't need you here. Never this shit with fake guitars. What you're making in a week, I'm making just a day. So I don't think there's room to speak. Just stay up in your little lane. Not gonna test that we won't bother ya. No, we're the time to calling ya. When I've been making a follow up and running awake insomnia keeps you up at night. Fixated on the lights. You're locked up in a minute. Now that shit's about to die. Grown a man child, crossed up on the keyboard. You can post up in your bedroom, you'll be mad when we tour. Taking a picture, going to post a tag of wristband. Sipping on liquor, you be too poor to pay the bills that you have. Never no case we don't get fucks about a warning. Recipe to live alone on your own glacier. I think that's a good idea. Don't bother, call me all the tears. Bitch, and don't bother, we don't need you here. Remember, it's great enough for all. Ain't no doubt that you the motherfucker looking out the hell. Don't bother, call me all the tears. Bitch, and don't bother, we don't need you here. Remember, who's the biggest, great enough for all. Ain't no doubt that you the motherfucker leaking out the hell. How the fuck you 26 and claim you fell in love with someone that you met online and only knew for 7 months? She don't even like you, so we thought that it was so pathetic. Making that your work, I know you broke, you phony academic. You said people dissed you back when you were gone to high school. I think this is all a game, but I play it by my rules. I see this collective got you mad a real alert. Try not taking it too personal, obsessing these words. Flipping the narrative, but you a lie. Ain't no comparison, 2 different minds. I'm on a level you never will get to, and I'm the wrong person. You're sending the threats you wanted to know, but I already did. To swallow my guilt when everyone flipped. Never defending offenders, you bitch, and I ain't got a problem in building this bridge. And now you're fragile, I'm winning the battle. I'm waiting so patiently, drunkenly babble, embarrassing nobody but you between it alone at the point, and I love when I see it. Over you sing, kind of a thing. Someone like you will be someone distinct. Word unemployment, I hope you enjoyed it. You're going by life as a big disappointment. Go farther, cry me all the tears, bitch, and don't bother, we don't need you here. And remember, who's the biggest, great enough of all. Ain't no doubt that you the motherfucker looking out the hell. Go farther, cry me all the tears, bitch, and don't bother, we don't need you here. And remember, who's the biggest, great enough of all. Ain't no doubt that you the motherfucker looking out the hell.
Watch your step. Run. Watch your step. Run.
Embrace who you truly are.
No matter. My minions are
Kill out.
soldiers rise once more.
Breath incoming.
Will reduce you to dust.
Watch your step.
Sacrifice comes victory.
Kill out.
Soldiers rise.
Embrace who you truly are.
Breath incoming. Watch your step. Breath incoming. Watch your step.
Your arrival proved timely, yet the battle rages on. We cannot rest.
A moment longer. This moment of the parts of my new creation have arrived at last.
Run. 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 Run.
Open your mind to the whispers. Embrace who you truly are.
Run.
My assistant. These raw materials are in need of processing.
Interrupt. Interrupt.
Competent. Oops. Gorgrind.
Embrace who you truly are.
Frontal. 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 Frontal.
How vexing! Rotsview, get to work and don't fail. kill me like your predecessor! You're not as ready for.
Open your mind to the whispers. Embrace who you truly are.
Rebuild those two from scratch. It seems I must take matters into my own. I can't wait to put your corpse behind. I'll have you in stitches. I must preserve your parts for later. Imbecile! Who made you?
Target you.
This could be arcane energy. No respect for craftsmanship. My constructs can handle you on their own. Oh, I'm awfully proud of this one. I must preserve your parts for later.
Open your mind to the whispers. Embrace who you truly are.
Imbecile! I'm the one who made you!
Target you.
Bastion shall be laid to waste.
Target you. Watch your step.
Can escape the storm. I've had enough of you.
Target you. Watch your step.
A fool to face me.
Open your mind to the whisper. Embrace who you truly are.
Watch your step.
Can escape the storm.
Target you. Watch your step.
Can escape the storm.
Teleport on you. Watch your step.
None can escape the storm. Such a futile had enough of you!
Watch your step.
None can escape the storm. A fool to face me.
Watch your step.
Had enough of you!
Watch your step.
None can escape the storm. A fool to face me.
Watch your step.
None can escape. Bastion shall be laid to waste.
Watch your step.
Can escape the storm.
Teleport on you. Watch your step.
Can escape the storm.
Watch your step.
Can escape the storm. I've had enough of you.
Watch your step.
Can escape the storm.
Target you.
I've had enough of you.
Watch your step.
Can escape the storm.
Target you. Watch your step.
Embrace who you truly are.
Had
Teleport on you. Watch your step.
Can escape the storm. Had enough of you!
Watch your step.
Can escape the storm. Had enough of you!
Open your mind to the whispers.
Watch your step.
Embrace how you truly are.
A pity. You will not witness this realm's destruction. Bastion shall be made to waste.
Watch your step.
Can escape the storm. Enough of you!
Target you. Watch your step.
Can escape the storm.
Open your mind to the whispers. Embrace who you truly are.
Teleport on your step.
Can escape the storm.
Watch your step.
Can escape the storm. Enough of you!
You are.
Watch your step.
Can escape the storm.
Target you.
Had enough of you!
Watch your step.
Can escape such a futile.
Open your mind the whispers. Embrace who you truly are.
A pity. You will not witness this realm's destruction.
All right, mates. How's it going?
What is your command? Resume.
is the supercut of the entire World of Warcraft Illidan series. All episodes in one place without all the separate intros and outros and stuff. So let's get Outland. Shadowmoon Valley, to be precise. That's where we're starting. To anyone that was hoping that this was going to be some kind of Illidan biography, soz mate. Anyway, the Blood Elf forces of Prince Kel'Thas Sunstrider were currently in the process of assaulting the Black Temple, whilst demonic siege engines on the walls of the temple were raining down death on them and stuff. But despite their losses, the Blood Elves continued to push forward. They were going to take this fortress from Magtheridon, the Lord of Outland, whether he liked it or not. Illidan himself paused for a moment to have a little look-see at the temple. To a complete noob, the defences of this place might have appeared absolutely impenetrable, but to Illidan, with his more experienced eyes, he could see that these defences were actually a bit shit. The demons didn't have enough sentries to cover the length of the walls, and their warding spells were already starting to unravel. Even the outer gates were stained with rust. Plus, Illidan knew something the demons didn't. He and his companions had already spent the day sealing the portals around Outland. Portals that could have been used to bring in demonic reinforcements, so Magtheridon and his peeps were very much on their own. This will be a glorious battle, Master. His forces may outnumber ours, but we're prepared to fight to the end. Illidan kinda hoped that wouldn't be necessary. Not because he gave a shit about the Blood Elves, he just still had need of them. At least until he'd secured himself against the vengeance of the Demon Lord Kil'jaeden, anyway. The Deceiver hadn't exactly been pleased that Illidan had failed to destroy the Frozen Throne, even if he had managed to fracture the Lich King's icy prison in his attempt. Illidan then realised that Kel'Thas was staring at him, probably waiting for a response considering he'd just said his men were prepared to die for him and stuff.
I am pleased by your people's zeal, young Kael. Their courage alone may be enough to...
Lord Illidan, new arrivals come to greet you. Lady Vash slithered into view, obviously not that bothered that she just interrupted two people having a conversation. And behind her, Illidan could see a whole bunch of big ugly monsters approaching as well. Broken, corrupted and devolved former members of the Draenei race. And their leader, Akama, then stepped forward. Me and my people have fought the orcs and their demon masters for generations. Now, we will end this curse forever. We are yours to command, Lord Illidan.
You've arrived just in time. Those machines on the walls must be silenced, and the gate must be open.
Akama nodded and gestured to his peeps, and then they bloody vanished. Turned damn near invisible, they did. The stealthy buggers then swarmed forward and clambered up the walls of the temple, and a moment later, the sound of combat erupted from inside, the huge gates of the Black Temple swung open, and explosions in the near distance sounded, signifying that the generators powering the demonic war machines had been destroyed. Illidan glanced at Akama, who looked really pleased with himself. He'd obviously been waiting for this day for a while.
Your people shall have their vengeance, Akama. Vash, Kael, give the final order to strike.
And so they did, and the main bulk of the Naga and Blood Elf army advanced through the gates. Within the Black Temple, there were probably 10 fell orcs for every one of Illidan's troops, but that didn't seem to matter. Illidan's forces swept in and cleaved through the disorganised enemy with ease. The courtyard was cleared within a matter of minutes, leaving the way to the temple's inner citadel and Magtheridon's chambers wide open.
The Temple of Karabor will belong to my people once again. It will be returned to your people, in good time.
The Temple of Karabor had been one of the most sacred sites of the Draenei, before corruption had turned it into this bloody eyesore, and Illidan could sense just how much it meant to the broken. But he didn't care at all. His purpose far outweighed their desires. Ain't nobody got time for scruples and sentimentality, but he still had every intention of giving the temple back to them once he had achieved his goals.
When we overcome the Pit Lord, we will gain the support of most of his fellow lieutenants. They follow the strongest, and we will have shown that their faith in Magtheridon was misplaced.
Cut off the head and the body falls. Will you slay Magtheridon, Lord?
We shall do much worse than that.
The doorway to the throne room slid open, and it bloody stank. The Pit Lord himself was about 5 times bigger than any Blood Elf, and he was flanked by 2 massive Doom Guard, each nearly as tall as he was.
Who the bloody hell are you? Are you an agent of the Legion? Have you been sent here to test me? I've come to replace you. Outland and all of its denizens will bow to me.
As the Pit Lord moved forward, the earth beneath him shook, because he was heavy and stuff. His 2 demonic bodyguards then advanced, and Illidan sprang into action, launching his 2 warglaives through the air. Within seconds, one of the demons lost his arms, whilst the other's head fell off, so they weren't going to be fighting anyone anytime soon. Illidan then lunged forward, slicing tendons in both of Magtheridon's front legs, before leaping onto the beast's tail. He then ran up his spine and drove both blades into the demon's thick neck. But it wasn't over yet. The plan was not to kill the Pit Lord, so Illidan quickly raised his hands and started to chant a spell of binding.
Oh, you're strong. For a mortal? I am no mortal. Anything that can be killed is mortal.
Illidan then gestured towards Lady Vash to join in with the binding spell, so she nodded and did that. The spell still needed a little bit more oomph though, so Illidan glanced over at Kale. However, that junkie bastard was currently licking his lips over all the unleashed magic in the air.
Kel'Thas!
Kale then snapped out of his stupor and joined in as well, and the spell then locked into place. The Pit Lord was successfully bound. Finally, the first stage of Illidan's long-dreamed plan was complete.
May I ask when I may begin, sir? Begin what?
We must purify the temple, prepare it to be returned to holiness.
There will be time for that afterward.
Afterward?
After my business is concluded. There is much to do before Outland is freed.
But the temple is free now.
Nowhere is free, whilst the Burning Legion reaches out for conquest.
Right. Great. May I withdraw and share the great news with my people?
You may. The temple will be returned to the broken, Karma. Just not today.
Yeah, sure. Whatevs. The Karma had a feeling this was going to happen. It would have been pretty dumb of him to trust an agreement made with someone called the Betrayer. If the Hunter of Demons wasn't going to hold up his end of the bargain, there were others who would. So off he went to find them. A short time later, Illidan was stood up on the roof of the temple with Kel'Thas and Vash, and although he'd initially felt pretty good about his victory, he'd since grown restless. He didn't feel as triumphant as he'd expected to. Instead, he felt a growing sense of dread, and that feeling was only being made worse by the fact the sky had gone red and there was a weird storm brewing.
Lady Vash, what is this? Where did this storm come from? Keep your head down, fool. Something terrible is near.
Suddenly, a gigantic glowing figure formed in the air, and it didn't take long for Illidan to figure out who it was.
Foolish little mongrel. Thought to hide from me in this forsaken backwater, did you?
It was impossible to do anything but look into Kil'jaeden's eyes, and by doing so, a link was established between Illidan and the Deceiver. Illidan could feel Kil'jaeden's cruel mind inspect his own, but he knew this day would come, which is why he planned for it. All he needed to do was make the Deceiver think he was successfully invading Illidan's innermost thoughts and secrets. So he braced himself against Kil'jaeden's will, only to allow the outer walls of his mind's defense to collapse. He then put up a second layer of protection, only to slowly let that crumble away as well, all to make Kil'jaeden think he was just too strong. And then, he sneakily cast a spell that made all his secrets disappear, which makes everything else seem a bit pointless, but okay. Kil'jaeden's colossal intrusive presence rummaged around in Illidan's mind palace for a bit, and after he was satisfied there were no juicy hidden secrets, he changed his focus and started scanning Illidan's recent memories instead. Firstly, back on Azeroth. Some bloke called Arthas had pointed Illidan in the direction of the Skull of Gul'dan, and after defeating a dreadlord called Tichondrius, he'd consumed the artifact's power, only for Tyrande and Malfurion to see his transformation and view him as nothing but a monster. Next, his attempt to destroy the Frozen Throne. Illidan channeled Dalaran's magical energies through the Eye of Sargeras to create devastating earthquakes that would tear Icecrown apart, only for his goddamn twat of a brother to intervene before Illidan could finish the job. Although he did manage to fracture the Lich King's prison in the process, which might come in handy. Then, Illidan's flight to Outland, being captured by Maiev, but then rescued by Kel'Thas and Vash. And after that, today's events. Their victory over Magtheridon. It didn't matter that Kil'jaeden witnessed that memory. The Demon Lord didn't care who ruled Outland, as long as they ruled it in the Legion's name. Anywho, once Kil'jaeden was satisfied, the link was broken and he withdrew from Illidan's mind. And Illidan knew he needed to choose his next words very carefully.
Kil'jaeden, I'm attempting to bolster my forces here, but the Lich King will be destroyed. I promise you. Is that so? Well, these servants you've chosen do show some promise. I will give you one last chance, Illidan. Destroy the Frozen Throne, or I'll f*** you up, you dickhead.
And then he was gone. Illidan let out a big old sigh of relief and turned to his companions.
Perhaps hiding here was not the best idea. Will you follow me into the cold heart of death itself?
The Naga are yours to command, Lord Illidan. The Blood Elves are yours as well, Master.
There are things I must do before we go, because we are not prepared.
Maiev Shadow Song, otherwise known as the Crazy Stalker Batman Lady, was currently stood atop a cliff, studying her surroundings, which was difficult because the huge Outland sun was glaring right in her eyes. But she did manage to spot what she was looking for, one of her group's alien pursuers, ducking in and out of sight behind a boulder. I see our insectoid friends are still following us.
I've heard they take captives to feed their hatchlings.
The ninja's words did not surprise Maiev. Outland was a bloody awful place, inhabited by bloody awful creatures. And as if to emphasise that point, the blaring foghorn roar of a fell reaver then sounded off in the distance, 2 days ago, Maiev and her watchers had barely managed to escape one. Surprisingly sneaky buggers considering how gigantic they are. Maiev then noticed more Ravagers scuttle into view. I could put an arrow through that one's eye. Why bother? There's thousands more of them. Let them follow. If they attack, we'll teach them the error of their ways. But let's not waste arrows. The troops then fell into line behind her, and Maiev knew she was going to have to keep a close eye on all of them. Back home, on Azeroth, she never would have doubted her soldiers' commitment, but they weren't back home. They were here. She'd already noticed a wild look in several of her soldiers' eyes, ever since they'd chased Illidan through the portal. He will not escape us, Warden. Of course he won't. I've not crossed the gap between worlds to let the betrayer elude justice. Although, he does have powerful allies here. So what? He's not getting away. We captured him once, we'll capture him again. More Ravagers then started to appear over on a different slope. It was entirely possible that these bug-like creatures were setting some sort of trap. Illidan wasn't with Kel'Thas or Lady Vash when we first captured him. Prince Kel'Thas is a traitor, Lady Vash is a twisted abomination. If they get in our way, then we'll kill them. Now, Maiev wasn't quite as confident on the inside as she was pretending to be in front of her peeps, but she didn't really care about Kel'Thas or Vash or any other person that might stand in her way. All she cared about was Illidan. She'd not spent 10,000 years of her life guarding him just to see him bugger off and do his wicked nasty stuff. Do you think this broken sage will be able to help us against them? This Akama, or whatever his name is? I don't know, Inindra. He may be of use, he may not. In the long run, it doesn't matter. We're going to win. We always have, and we always will. Awkward silence then fell across the entire group, and whilst Maiev's followers exchanged weary, she's talking shit type glances, Maiev found herself having a little bit of a flashback, mainly because the landscape of Outland had been torn apart by magic, and it wasn't that different from something she'd seen before, over 10,000 years ago. The War of the Ancients. Forests burned and nations died. Thousands of skirmishes and countless horrors, all because of goddamn magic, which brought the Burning Legion to Azeroth. She tried to tell them all. It was obvious. They needed to kill everyone who used magic. The High Elves, Illidan, all of them. But did they listen? Not for shit. Instead, they chose to follow Malfurion and Tyrande. Bunch of pussies. The sound then brought Maiev back to the present. The Ravagers were on the move again, edging closer. So, the Warden ordered her peeps to mount up, and then they all started to choose it. Inindra then rode up alongside Maiev, with a confused look on her face, obviously wondering why they were choosing it, especially after Maiev was being all Billy Big Bollocks a minute ago. But now was not the time to senselessly throw away lives in pointless battles, not when the trail of their true prey lay before them. Oh, Illidan, what an enigma. His mind was impossible to comprehend, and that bothered Maiev, because she was a hunter and wanted to understand her prey, not because she wanted his balls or something. She'd heard the rumours. Yeah, she just wants his balls. Yeah. Weaklings, a lot of them. They were not prepared to deal with true evil, and they feared those that had the strength to do what needed to be done. Warden Shadowsong, what? Over there. Maiev looked at where Inindra was pointing, and quickly saw more Ravagers ahead, blocking their path. Looks like they had indeed been setting a trap. Prepare for battle. Maiev and her watchers got into a line formation. They were surrounded and outnumbered, but they were not afraid. They would not retreat. But when they were this close to Zangarmarsh, this close to making contact with Akama, form up in a flying wedge behind me. We'll cut down these animals and smash our way clear. And so they did. Their lightsabers roared as they crashed into the Ravagers, and as Maiev drew her Umbra Crescent and sliced through a whole bunch of insects, she found herself thinking, I wonder what Illidan's up to. Maiev and her peeps were now in Zangarmarsh, and they hated it. There were fungal spores floating about, and they got absolutely everywhere. Clothing, hair, behind the ears, armpits, and it was giving them all ringworm or something. And it wasn't just the fungus and the goddamned humidity that made Zangarmarsh gross. After smashing their way through the Ravager ambush and entering this new zone, they were immediately attacked by a giant mushroom, and then some huge stinging insects. And one of Maiev's followers, Kalia, actually did get stung, and then she exploded, which was yet another needless death that Maiev blamed Illidan for. The group then arrived at Oribor Harbourage, which looked pretty run down, to be honest. The Broken, hobbling around the village, stared at the approaching night elves. Some of them were even like, spare some change, but most just looked tired and defeated. And Maiev began to think that any hope of recruiting these Broken to help in her fight would be a complete waste of time. However, she then noticed some of them were carrying weapons, and looked a little bit more capable. Akama, where is he? Rather than answer with words, one of the Broken just pointed in the direction of the town centre. Bit rude, but they went ahead and followed his directions, and as they walked, the scent of rotting flesh emerged in the air, and the sounds of weeping. These people were suffering, there was no doubt about that. Seemed like these fungal spores in the air could find their way into wounds, and make people go a bit mouldy. Do you really think this Akama guy can help us? Doesn't even look like he can help his own people. Maiev agreed, but did not say so out loud. Last thing her watchers needed was another blow to their morale after Kalir exploded. They then turned a corner and saw a small hut with a bunch of guards outside it. Akama? Again, the soldiers did not say anything. They just kind of moved out the way of the entrance to the hut and then stared silently. But as the warden and her soldiers moved to enter the hut, the guards lowered their pikes. Just you. Maiev could feel the tension in the air. Her watchers did not like the idea of their leader potentially being led into a trap, but this really was their only option, so wait here. However, Maiev did shoot one of her peeps, Sarius, a quick look, which the druid understood, so he detached himself from the group, moved into shadow, and then turned into a bird, just to keep a bit of an eye on things. Maiev then stepped into the hut and saw a broken bloke standing over a small child. The child was crying, but as the man muttered something, touched the child's brow, and created some kind of weird energy, its whimpering stopped. Maiev could not sense the corruption of fel magic, or the twisted flows of the arcane within the energy, but she still didn't let her guard down. There were ways of hiding the evil in magic, after all. The broken man then whispered something in the child's ear, and it passed out. Rosaria had lung rot fever, but I've burned it away for now. You are Akama? Yes, leader of the Ash Tongue. Your message said you wanted to talk. You are Maiev Shadowsong? How exactly did you come to know my name? He mentioned it. He? The one you call the betrayer. And what do you know of him? Come, walk with me. We have much to discuss. Akama then gestured towards a rear exit of the hut, and Maiev knew this was perhaps just a ruse to separate her from her troops. But Sarius was watching, in his shape-shifted bird form, and Maiev was perfectly capable of defending herself. They both then emerged behind the building, and Maiev wrinkled her nose as the stench of mould filled the air again. It was not always like this. Orobor Harborage was once a beautiful place. I'll take your word for it. You should. The world has changed since Ner'zhul wrought his destruction. This was once a place of learning, a hub of trade. Tens of thousands of my people walked here, admiring statues, looking upon the gracious homes. I didn't come here to buy a house, Akama. I came here seeking an ally. You are not the first of your kind to tell me that. Illidan is not my kind. He forfeited any claim to be a night elf when he made his pact with the Burning Legion. And yet, according to him, he was once a great hero of your people. According to him, yeah, not according to the rest of us. The two of them then passed the boundaries of the village and arrived at a vast, calm-looking lake. Please, be seated. But Maiev did not sit down. Instead, she stood very upright and placed one hand on the hilt of her weapon. As you wish. Let's talk about the betrayer. Well, he's a being of great and cosmic evil. 10,000 years ago, he betrayed us to the Burning Legion, and then for 10,000 years, I stood watch over him to make him pay for his crimes. But, thanks to the murderous treachery of some bitch who should have known better, he escaped, and then he fled here. I already know all this. I've talked with him, fought alongside him. Maiev was half expecting Naga, or Blood Elves, to appear out of nowhere any second. However, there was still no sign of any danger. Why do you serve the betrayer? Because he offered to help my people free the Temple of Karawar. He was the enemy of my enemy, and that's no longer the case. He has made no move to return the temple to my people. Pretty sure he never intends to. We removed our former conqueror, Magtheridon, only to put something much worse in his place. So now you feel that I may be the enemy of your enemy. You imprisoned him. He hates you, maybe even fears you. He's right to fear me. I will see him bound or dead. Great. So, what's the plan? Well, at the moment, there's nothing we can do. You what, mate? He's too strong, backed by Kel'Thas and Lady Vash. Big whoops. I don't give a shit. Well, you should. So, hang on. Did you call me here to beg for my aid and then cower in these ruins? At least give me something, Akama. Oh, you elves. How do you live so long and yet remain impatient as fuck? You see those snappers in the water? They wait for their prey to come within reach, and then they strike. So you want us to imitate fish? They're eels. When the time comes, I will give you all the help you need, but I will not have my people needlessly slaughtered just because of your recklessness. Fine. At least tell me what he's doing now. He's taking Magtheridon to Hellfire Citadel. Why? I don't know. He didn't tell me everything. Akama then fumbled around in his pouch and produced a small stone object inscribed with strange runes. Once again, it didn't appear to have the foulness of fel sorcery or the wickedness of arcane magic. At least as far as Maiev could tell, anyway. So, she reluctantly accepted it. I'll contact you through this when I have something worth telling. I can see why he fears you, you know. You're very much alike. It took Maiev and her watchers quite a while to ride back to Hellfire Peninsula, despite the fact that they were riding at great speed. As far as Maiev was concerned, it was worth risking saddle sores and exhaustion if they could catch Illidan unawares. They didn't need a karma. All they needed was an opportunity to strike at the betrayer when he least expected it, and bring an end to this awful expedition. But now, they were hiding amongst some rocks on a ridge, because on their way to Hellfire Citadel itself, Illidan, on a massive parade float, had appeared out of nowhere and then rode past. And since they would have been way too vulnerable to try and strike him there and then, they just cheesed it and hid instead. But once he was gone, Maiev cautiously poked her head over the ridgeline and saw 3 fell orcs just sort of hanging about. They looked pretty angry and up for a fight, so Maiev decided to go ahead and give them their wish. She used Blink to completely and instantly close the gap between herself and the fell orcs, and in one stroke took the largest of the 3's head off. She then drove her Umbra Crescent through the second one, tripped the third one over, and sliced its throat. And all of this happened within about 3 seconds. The Warden then gestured to the rest of her troops to come on down, and that was that, onwards to Hellfire Citadel. The Citadel itself looked as if it had been built to accommodate an army of giants. It was immense, made of red rock and the bones of creatures that must have been as big as mountains or something, and it was saturated in magic. Even from this distance, Maiev could sense its evil. But, despite all of that, her focus was not on the keep, it was on the massive procession making its way down the road towards the Citadel. Tens of thousands of fell orcs marched, and up front, a mass of blood elves, with Prince Kel'Thas leading them, and an enormous chariot drawn by at least 20 cleft hoof, which had been muzzled and blinded to prevent them from losing their shit. Based on the contents of the cage mounted onto the chariot, Maiev could understand why. It contained the Pit Lord Magtheridon, and also, atop the chariot, with wings spread and hands on his hips, stood Illidan Stormrage, looking really pleased with himself. Enjoy your moment of triumph, betrayer. It will be your last. But what the bloody hell were their options? The sun would soon go down. That would give them an advantage. She could order her peeps to provide cover while she rushed the betrayer. One swift stroke and she could take his head. Her own death would be absolutely certain immediately afterwards, but she was alright with that. Her lips even curved into a smile as she imagined Illidan's silky hair beneath her fingers and the drip 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 of blood coming out of his severed neck. Ah, it wouldn't even be that difficult. She could use Blink again. It only has a 15-second cooldown after all. She'd be upon him before any of the masses even knew what the balls was happening. This plan was absolutely bloody brilliant. Warden, what? Did you not hear me? I asked what the betrayer could possibly want with the Pit Lord. I thought they called him a demon hunter. Why is he keeping it alive? 'Twas a good question, and somehow it made Maiev reconsider the absolutely mental plan that she'd just come up with. She'd been on the verge of ordering an attack, but what if something had gone wrong? What if Illidan had somehow managed to escape, again, and they were left to face this entire army? She then focused on the actual question her lieutenant had asked. What did Illidan plan to do with the captured Pit Lord? A sacrifice, maybe. A warning. Who knows what goes through the mind of that maniac? But why would he want to sacrifice Magtheridon? What could he possibly gain from it? How should I know? Well, you always told me a hunter must understand her prey. Sarius, who was currently in his cat form, let out a little growl and scratched at Maev's right arm. And at first she was like, what bloody hell did you do that for? Until she realised what the druid was actually trying to tell her. Illidan and all of his troops now seemed to be looking directly towards them. There was no way they'd be able to see them at this distance, but it was still a little bit unnerving. So they rolled away from the edge of the ridge and crept down slope. Maiev then studied her troops. A ninja was currently flexing the fingers of her blade hand, which was something she always did when she was extremely nervous. Sarius had reverted back to normal, and he was frowning, and the rest of them looked very pale and sweaty. They were all terrified, and that was just outrageous. They were supposed to be watchers, chosen for their courage and steadiness in the face of danger. They'd seen countless horrors, and yet now they seemed just about ready to give up and cheese it. We can't win here. Maiev wrestled with her anger before slowly allowing the idea to seep into her mind that maybe they were right. So she closed her eyes and offered up a prayer to Elune, whilst her followers stared at her, eagerly awaiting her response. No, we cannot win here. Some looked pleased, some looked astonished, but Maiev hadn't finished talking. We cannot win here now. That does not mean that the betrayer is safe from us forever. If we are to return home with our heads held high, we must arrive with the betrayer or his corpse. If we do not, our people will think of us as betrayers. You've seen what's happening here. Illidan is amassing an army. I will not allow him to escape the consequences of his deeds, and I will do so even if I must go alone. Maiev let those words sink in before continuing with what can only be described as emotional blackmail. All of you swore an oath to follow me. The question you must ask yourselves is, will you remain true to your oaths, or will you be like him? Are you faithless, or are you true daughters and sons of Elune? I want no one with me who will flinch when the moment of truth comes. So make your choice. Some of them couldn't even make eye contact with Maiev. A few of them even looked away. But the warden was proud to see that most of them met her gaze with renewed determination. I am with you. And I. One by one, the rest of the Watchers pledged loyalty, even the ones that had seemed reluctant. To be honest, they probably just didn't want to be left alone in this god-awful alien place. What now, Warden Shadowsong? We must find allies. Someone braver than Akama. Someone willing to act sooner rather than later. As Illidan entered the vast chamber where Magtheridon was bound, he was ever so slightly pissed off. Firstly, his recent loss had hurt his pride a little bit. But also, there were reports of Maiev and her peeps still hanging about in Outland. But so far, nobody could find the bitch. Failed your mission for Kill Jaden, did you? Not surprised. You are nothing but a failure. Illidan muttered a word of power, sending a surge of energy through the chains binding the Pit Lord, which hurt Magtheridon quite a bit. Must be embarrassing to be defeated by such a failure. You think you've defeated me? Yeah. Or are you too stupid to realize that being imprisoned is not a sign of victory? The Demon Hunter then sent another surge of energy through Magtheridon's chains. He was doing this for a reason, though, which will soon become clear. I'm not the only one that's been defeated. I wonder how Lord Kil'jaeden will respond when he learns that you've squandered your last chance. How do you know I've failed? Come now, little Illidan. It's not rocket science. I can see that unpleasant scratch on your side, and you reek of the walking dead. You've the taint of that great blade Frostmourne on you. 'Twas true. Illidan had gone to Azeroth, fought against Arthas, and lost. And with that defeat, Illidan's last chance of destroying the Frozen Throne and appeasing Kil'jaeden was gone. And I already animated that fight in the Arthas series, so I'm not doing it again. You will not escape Kil'jaeden, nor will you spare Azeroth. His invasion of your precious homeworld cannot be stopped. Illidan lanced the Pit Lord with yet another surge of pain. Magtheridon was almost weak enough now. Kil'jaeden is not known for his mercy, Demon Hunter. He will not be gentle when he takes his vengeance on you. For a fourth time, Illidan sent a surge of fell power through Magtheridon's chains, and the Pit Lord was now weak enough. It was time. Akama. The door to the chamber squeaked open, and Akama entered, and as he shuffled over to Illidan very sheepishly, he did not take his eyes off Magtheridon at all. Tell me, Broken One, has the betrayer returned your temple to you yet? What do you wish of me, Master? Akama, what do you see? I see Magtheridon bound. I see great spells holding him in place, and I see you standing in triumph. Are you not curious as to why I have preserved him? I am, Lord. He wants my blood, Broken One. What's he talking about? He is correct. His blood contains the secret to creating fell orcs. It can be distilled into an elixir that gives the orcs might and ferocity. And why would you do that? Because I have need of an army. The Burning Legion is coming for us. They must be defeated, no matter what it takes. Creating more of those foul creatures it's an abomination, Lord Illidan. Forgive me, but it's true. You've outraged your pet's sensibilities. It's not the first time either. Illidan spoke a fifth word of power to shut Magtheridon up. However, he did have his doubts about Akama. He had doubts about all of his followers, but he wasn't going to show them that. We need a mighty army, Akama. Otherwise we will be overwhelmed. Now do what I tell you to do when I tell you to do it. Illidan then brandished his warglaives, started chanting, and strode towards Magtheridon. And as he drew closer, the Pit Lord started to throw a bit of a wobbly. Turned out he wasn't quite as relaxed about the prospect of bloodletting as he'd previously let on. But Illidan didn't give a shit. As he reached Magtheridon, his blades bit chunks out of the demon's flesh, and as a result, green blood started oozing out. And to Illidan, it smelled quite delicious. Some of it even splashed on his face, which he immediately licked. But he fought the urge to start lapping it up off the ground like a savage. The strength it would grant was not worth the price he'd have to pay. He then turned to Akama, who looked absolutely bloody horrified, and barked his orders. Now, Akama, bind the blood. Set it flowing into the channels. So Akama did that. He cast his spell, and the blood slowly filled the channels carved into the floor, and then pulsed into a system of pipes. Pipes that led to a bunch of tanks. And that was that. Illidan smiled. He'd collected the first of what he needed, and now it was time to get to work. A short time later, Illidan had got to work. He was now in a huge gallery, filled with orcs lying down on gurneys, and there were tanks pumping bubbling green fluid into their veins. Akama was also there, still looking horrified, but also a little bit disgusted. This is an abomination, Lord Illidan. So you keep saying, but it's necessary. But is it, though? Do you think it's wise to question me? Suddenly, one of the orcs undergoing the procedure stirred, but then seemed to just settle down again. It will make them stronger, faster, make them heal quicker. But at what price, Master? They will be filled with rage and hatred and a hunger for battle. Is there no way to mitigate those side effects?
We need those side effects. You've seen the Burning Legion. You've felt its wrath. We need to be just as fierce.
You really think the Legion can be defeated here, Lord?
I think they can be held here.
So, you only wish to preserve your homeworld? You would turn this one into a battleground?
This world already is a battleground. I do not only seek to defend Azeroth, Akama. I wish to preserve all.
And how do you plan on doing that? By turning us all into that which we oppose? As if to emphasize Akama's point, the orc that had previously stirred suddenly opened his eyes and grabbed Illidan by the arm. And Illidan responded by immediately punching it in the neck.
That one was a little too fierce.
Thought that was what you wanted.
I like you, Akama, but don't try my patience. I'm not here to play games. I'm here to win a war.
We all are, Lord. Let's just hope we're all fighting the same one. A week later, Akama and Illidan were up on the ramparts, watching as his new army emerged from the gates of Hellfire Citadel. And Illidan seemed pretty satisfied. He no longer needed to rely on the backing of Kel'Thas and Vash. He had his own army now.
They will establish control across all of Hellfire Peninsula. Then we shall close the Legion's gates and slow their advance.
I sincerely hope so, my lord. When that happens, will you return the Temple of Karabor to my people?
Of course, Akama. Never doubt it.
Akama doubted it. He doubted it 100%. And as he put his hand in his pouch and fumbled about, he felt a rune-carved stone inside, and thought about that Night Elf Warden he'd met with and given the other rune-carved stone to. The following day, Illidan strode into the Chamber of Command, which was his meeting room at the Black Temple. In the centre of this chamber was a three-dimensional map of Outland atop a large table. A whole bunch of Blood Elves were huddled around it, but they quickly moved out of the way as soon as they saw their master enter. Lord Illidan, Prince Kel'Thas regrets that he could not be present. He's taken a force to close the Legion's gate in the Netherstorm. The magical defences of the temple have been rewoven, my lord. There is no sign of Legion activity in Shadowmoon Valley, Lord Illidan. The gates remain as closed as the day we sealed them. The other Blood Elf, Virith's Dark Shadow, remained silent with his arms folded. Apparently, he did not feel the need to fight for Illidan's attention like the rest of them did, and Illidan just kind of shook his head. It was no wonder Kel'Thas had left them behind. All they ever seemed to do was plot against each other, for his favour. But they were damned good at organising stuff. Pretty efficient peeps, which was probably why they'd taken to calling themselves the Illidari Council.
The Demon Lord Kil'jaeden is displeased with me. He will make his displeasure felt soon enough. Are you certain that the wards are ready, Zerevor?
I would bet my life on it, Lord Illidan.
Good. Melander, send a message to Kel'Thas explaining the situation. I do not want him taking any unnecessary risks.
It shall be done.
Virus, have you done as I asked?
Of course. Our best trackers have searched Hellfire Peninsula and questioned the fellow clan leaders. A number of Night Elves have been sighted.
You find my Shadow Song for me, Virus.
At once, Lord Illidan.
And you, Gazios, ensure that our sentries are alert and that a force is ready to respond to any threat.
It's already done. I took the liberty of surveying the Black Temple's defences for weak points. The sewer outflow is probably our Death Star exhaust hole, if I'm honest. Lady Vash suggested we put one of her champions, High Warlord Nagentus, down there to guard it.
All right. Well done, everyone. Let's hope all of this is enough.
Who the bloody hell is this guy? Stalking through the dark landscape of Shadowmoon Valley, looking all angry and stuff. Well, his name is Vandel, and he's come a long way on a quest for vengeance. You see, his 3-year-old son, Cariel, had been torn apart by a fellhound during the Third War. And as you can imagine, Vandel was quite upset about that. Vandel remembered the day vividly. He had been in the woods hunting when the alarm horn sounded, and although he'd raced back towards Ashenvale as quickly as he could, he wasn't fast enough. And there wasn't much left of his 3-year-old son. Just a pile of goo and a fellhound munching on tiny bones. And as a result, Vandel had gone a little bit mad, as he would. No sane elf would have spent long years tracking the betrayer. No sane elf would have passed through that magical portal and come to this shithole. The wall of the Black Temple loomed before him. There were many sentries and many warding spells. This was a fortress girded for war, so Vandel took advantage of every patch of shadow he could find. He wasn't going to let himself get cut down by the temple's guardians before he'd finished his business. The wall itself was dotted with clumps of moss and cracks from erosion, meaning someone who'd learned to climb amid the great trees of Ashenvale could probably scale it. So Vandel went ahead and did that. But as Vandel looked down, there was a brief moment where he felt the urge to just let go, end his suffering, rejoin his family. But he resisted. He couldn't rest until his son had been avenged. When he reached the battlements, he immediately jumped into more shadows. There were no signs of sentries nearby though, so that was cool. However, a bat-winged shadow then passed above. 'Twas Illidan, the betrayer himself, being all Batman-ish.
Not long, my son. Not long.
Illidan then landed atop the highest tower of the temple, paced for a bit, and then leaned against the banister, seemingly surveying everything as far as the horizon. And Vandal wondered if the betrayer had noticed him. The demon hunter's sightless eyes were known to perceive things that most other peeps could not. But whatevs, probably nothing to worry about. So the night elf hunter stalked forward and continued his ascent until finally he was stood atop the very same tower as his target. Illidan's back was turned, still surveying the landscape. What was he looking for? What could he see? However, the demon hunter then just casually turned round, as if he'd known Vandal was there the whole time. Forgive the intrusion, Lord Illidan. I did not wish to be cut down by your sentries before I had spoken to you.
What do you wish of me, Night Stalker?
I want to slay those who slew my family. I want to slaughter your enemies.
I have quite a lot of enemies.
I want to learn what you've learned. I want to hunt demons. Will you teach me?
I will teach you, and thousands like you. Go below. Rest. You will find what you seek, or die in the attempt.
Illidan then turned his back again and returned to staring at the horizon, and Vandal figured that was an indication that this conversation was now over. So he strode back down to the base of the tower and found two tattooed figures waiting for him. One was a tall female with a scarred face. She seemed somewhat like a night elf, but she had demonic features. Her eye sockets, for example. Most people's eye sockets would have eyeballs in them. Hers had green flames instead, which was a bit weird. The second figure, also somewhat night elven, was male, and his eyes were sewn shut, as well as his lips. You have spoken with Lord Illidan? Yes. You are privileged indeed. Privileged? Am I? He does not greet every supplicant personally. It seems he has some memory of you. Perhaps he has something special in mind. I would not presume to read Lord Illidan's mind. You are wiser than you look. Do you have a name? I am Elarisiel. He is Needle. Nobody knows his real name. Vandal bowed politely and the female laughed mockingly. However, Needle just kind of bobbed his head, which surprised Vandal more, to be honest, as he assumed the male would be blind, considering his eyes were sewn shut. Lord Illidan told us to take you below. How and when exactly did he tell you to do that? You will find out eventually, if you live. Gulp! The pair then led Vandal through a maze of corridors until eventually they arrived at some ruins. This was once part of the Temple of Karabor. The orcs and demons didn't leave a great deal of the original structure standing, to be honest. The intact buildings belong to Lord Illidan and his champions. We live here, under the watchful eye of Varidus and his companions. Varidus, the master tutor. As they entered the ruins, Vandal couldn't help but feel like this place seemed like an asylum, or a battlefield hospital. Elves sprawled everywhere. Some night elf, some blood elf. Some muttered to one another, and some sat on their own, rocking backwards and forwards in the shadows. In fact, one female suddenly jumped up, screamed, and then raced through the chamber yelling, "Worms, worms, worms!" And the weirdest thing was, no one else seemed disturbed by that. As you can see, you're not the only one that's found their way here. Many have come looking for Lord Illidan, but only a few will live to enter his service. Why do you keep saying that? What do you mean? You'll find out soon enough. Pick out any place and rest. You'll need your strength for the trials ahead. And then she was gone. And Needle was like, and then he was gone. Don't pay too much attention to her. She just likes to scare the new recruits. Somebody probably did the same to her when she first got here. Vandal turned to see who that voice belonged to. It was a mature-looking night elf, which meant he could be anywhere between 20 to 15,000 years old. And as far as Vandal could see, he had no scars or tattoos or sewn-up orifices. I know what you're thinking. My name's Vandal. Elune shines on the moment of our meeting, Vandal. I'm Ravael. Nice to meet you. So, you were about to tell me what I'm thinking. Please do. I'm not even sure myself. You're thinking what every newcomer that's ever been led into this hall thinks. Those guides are weird. And why do the rest of us have eyeballs and no tattoos? Are there more like them? Oh yeah, loads. Lord Illidan's building an army of the blind. But they're not blind, are they? They had no trouble guiding me here, or avoiding anyone in their way. You've thought things through, it seems. What are you doing here? Vengeance? Learn how to fight demons? Same reason as you, I'm guessing. Vandal took a deep breath and looked around again. At first, he'd assumed everyone here was mad, or an invalid. But now he realised that many of them bore scars, same as him. You lost someone? I lost everything. Yeah, I know what that feels like. Somehow, though, in this place, I feel we have even more to lose. Maiev almost felt relaxed, albeit a little bit bloated. She had a belly full of cleft hoof meat, after all. She and her followers had spent most of the day hunting the big hairy beasts, and after eating the meat, they'd tended to the hides, making new armour and stuff. And that brought back memories for the Warden. She'd hunted with her mother back when she was a wee little night elf. They used to make their own clothes. It was lovely. But her mother was killed by the Burning Legion, so enough about that. Illidan was still at large, gaining even more power every bloody day. How was that butt munch constantly finding more allies whilst her forces had only grown a little bit? Didn't make any sense. At least this Nagrand place was nice though. The air was clean, and the sky was blue. Sure, you could still see the effects of the world-splitting magic inflicted on Draenor, but it was a hell of a lot better than Hellfire Peninsula. Maiev then looked over at her lieutenant, Anindra, who was currently lay on her stomach playing some kind of board game with Sarius. The two of them had proved loyal and good soldiers these past few years. They'd kept Maiev's forces alive under some very trying circumstances, and yet Maiev had achieved almost nothing to show for it. Her forces had grown but could hardly be called an army. A few hundred disaffected Draenei youths. Big whoops, that wasn't going to be enough. A commotion then sounded at the edge of the camp, attracting Maiev's attention. The sentries were challenging someone, so the warden moved to investigate. And as she drew closer, she saw some unfamiliar broken. What's going on here? We could ask you the same thing. You are on Kurenai land, eating Kurenai beasts. Maiev had heard of the Kurenai before, another faction of Broken, one that owed no allegiance to Akama and his Ashtongue tribe. I saw no brand on those cleft hoof. This is our hunting grounds. We have not given you guest rights. Maiev considered the current situation and immediately started calculating. These strangers were outnumbered 20 to 1. Bah! You have an army. We do too, and ours is bigger. But it's not here. It could be, if I sounded this horn. I could put an arrow through your eye before that horn reaches your lips. God damn it, Anindra. That wasn't helpful at all. We meant to give no offence. We are strangers passing through this land and we saw only food and shelter. We should have come to Talar. Our people would have provided you with both, maybe even more things. There seems to be a lot of young Draenei following you. Our leader, Arikron, would probably love to hear your story. Maiev perked up at that. Potential new allies? With an entire army? Yes, please. Well, if it suits you, I will guide my people to your city and have words with your Arikron. I will leave some of my people to be your guides as I go ahead and give notice of your coming. How very formal of him. Hopefully he wasn't off to prepare some kind of trap. Sometime later, Maiev's group arrived at Talar. It was impressive. Situated on top of a mountain peak and only accessible via rope bridges or from the air. The crowd lined the edge of the town, and unlike the Ashtongue of Orobor Harborage, these Broken looked healthy. And at the centre of the crowd stood a particularly large Broken, whose clothes looked quite fancy. Akal Hector, and welcome to Talar. I am Arikron, and I would give you welcome in my house. Cheers, mate. As they rode through the town, Maiev studied the odd Draenei architecture. Not that she thought the buildings were pretty, she was basically just looking for any ambush spots. Everything felt like a trap nowadays to Maiev. Bit sad, really. But soon enough, they entered the Kurenai leader's house and sat down at a table. Arikron appeared to have an honest face and a welcoming manner, but such things can be deceptive. A Broken boy then popped his head through a beaded curtain and stared at Maiev, and she stared right back at him. Corky, it's past your bedtime. Go to sleep. Yes, father. Corky, yes, father. Go to sleep, you little shit. He's a good boy. Bit spoiled, but I worry about him sometimes. Well, as a parent, you have a lot to worry about. These are dark times, and they're only getting darker. True. But the light will preserve us. It always has, and it always will. I wish I shared your faith. Faith in the light is open to all. All you need to do is believe. Ah, balls. Who's going to start getting all preachy? I'm sure the light watches over all of us. I'm just not sure it can protect us. The betrayer seeks dominion over Outland. He's already recruited countless Felorgs and other monstrous beings. I've seen the Naga working on great magical engines. Whatever Lady Vash is up to, believe me, it's not good. It wasn't the first time Maiev had given that speech, and it had managed to convince the Draenei youth that had joined her. But Arikron was no youth. He was an experienced leader, so she was going to have to throw in a Hail Mary with this one. If you wish your child to have a safe future, you might want to do something soon, before Illidan has overwhelming forces at his disposal. You do not need to convince me of the threat Illidan poses. Then I can count upon your help? Yeah, it's not quite that simple. I've heard of you, Maiev the Warden. Heard of the way you go from town to town in search of soldiers for your crusade. Heard that some of the young and more impetuous Draenei follow you. But I am neither young nor impetuous. I would like to help you, Maiev. You're right about how powerful Illidan is, but I just can't draw that kind of attention to my town. So you're afraid? Yeah, and I'm not at all ashamed to admit it. Well, you should be. Oh, it's easy for you, isn't it? Riding from place to place, spinning your web of words. You don't have to think about consequences. You don't have to think about our young people dying. Don't I? Those few night elves you saw outside, my officers, They're all that remain of the mighty force that once followed me. But you can fight your guerrilla war and then disappear into the wastes. Escape the wrath of your foe. My people can't. We live here, with our children. I wondered why you'd introduced him into the conversation so early. You are a cynical and wrathful night elf, but you're also a righteous one. I'll provide you with supplies and weapons. I'll allow you to recruit whoever wishes to follow you, as long as you leave the town guards out of it. But that's it. I have considered the offer. It wasn't ideal, but under the circumstances it would have to do. I appreciate the risk you're taking. Just so we're clear though, what you plan to do, you do on your own. Arikron then grabbed 2 goblets, poured some water and then sat back down again. Maiev took a sniff of hers but couldn't smell any drugs, so she took a sip. Tell me, since you know Illidan so well, what do you think he's doing here? Fleeing the justice that pursues him from Azeroth? Obviously, but I meant specifically. What do you think he plans? Why is he building this massive army? Do you think he means to invade your homeworld? Probably. Illidan has always sought glory in conquest. He loves that almost as much as he loves forbidden knowledge. It is said that he is a formidable sorcerer, one of the greatest my people ever produced. Well, that's alarming. Not a big fan of magic myself, since he killed millions of people and shattered my planet. All the more reason Illidan must be opposed. Has he made pacts with the Burning Legion before? Making pacts with the Burning Legion is what Illidan calls a Wednesday, and yet now he appears to be at war with them. It appears that way, yeah, but I don't care why. I just want to capitalise on the opportunity this presents. What do you mean, Well, I don't mean to insult you, but kinda seems like you'd find an opportunity to strike against Illidan under any circumstances. Arikron then paused for a moment, looking very contemplative. Perhaps there are some that might aid you in your quest. Some that have great magical power. I do not seek an alliance with those who use blasphemous sorcery. The Naru serve the light. The Naru? They came to Shatrath City recently. You might make common cause with them. They are no friends to your Illidan. He is not my Illidan. Sorry, slip of the tongue. Tell me more about the Naru. Well, they're beings of light. They came to Shatrath a few months ago, attracted by the rites of worship that the Aldor priests perform. And they protect the city from demons. They hold the Legion at bay. Yep, they've turned Shatrath into a sanctuary, and they're recruiting anyone who would join them in fighting the demons. You'd do well there. Probably become a general in their army in no time. This definitely sounded promising, although it was also entirely possible that Arikron was just trying to get rid of her. I don't care about positions of power. I just want to see Illidan receive his well-deserved punishment. Nonetheless, I would advise you to seek out the Naru. Of all the forces in Outland opposing the Burning Legion, they are immeasurably the strongest. How do I find this Shatrath? And who do I speak to there? Head northeast, seek the Terrace of Light, and speak with Adal. A few weeks later, Maiev and her followers had enjoyed some much-needed rest, and recruited another 50 young fighters of Broken and Janai to join them. But now, it was time to leave. Remember, seek out the Aldor. They are the strongest faction in Shatrath besides the Naru, and the ones most likely to aid you. Okie dokie. See ya. And with that, they set off. Next stop, Shatrath City. Vandel was currently stood in a great courtyard in the ruins of Karabor, and he wasn't alone. There were hundreds of supplicants lining the terraces. Illidan had been gone for weeks, and nobody knew where the bloody hell he was. But in the meantime, Vandel and the other recruits had spent long days training under the guidance of the weird tattooed demonic elf-looking peeps. Varidith, the master tutor, had been lecturing them on the nature of demons. He was a bit arrogant. However, there were rumours that he'd once infiltrated the Shadow Council and stolen their book of fell names, so that's kind of cool. Another one, Alandian, laid out tactics of infiltration. She claimed to have been trained directly by Illidan himself, and Netherel, the oldest amongst them, was the one who taught the recruits about weapons. And despite his age, he was pretty good with weapons. So mostly, Vandel had spent his time practicing with weapons, sparring with fellow recruits, and getting to know everyone a little bit better. He and Raphael had stuck together like butter and cheese since they'd met. Out of everyone here, Raphael definitely seemed like he was the most normal. Vandel had also learned that a large majority of the recruits were blood elves, sent by Kel'Thas to learn how to fight demons. There were far fewer night elves, but amongst those few night elves was a guy called Celadon. Now, the book says he came all the way from Eversong Woods, which is a weird place for a night elf to come from, but okay. His body had been burned by several punches from an infernal, and the whole right side of his face had been caved in. He shouldn't have been able to move from the pain, but somehow he could. Another night elf, Isteth, had lost all 3 of her children for the Legion. She carried the burned corpse of her youngest in a pouch against her chest, like some kind of psycho kangaroo. There were nights when she wouldn't stop screaming, and when one of the Blood Elf recruits tried to silence her forcibly, it didn't end well for them, because she stabbed them right in the face. Mavalith just smiled a lot. He seemed to find everything hilarious. It was actually quite disconcerting, some of the things he laughed at. Something in his eyes suggested he took pleasure from the pain of others. And then there was Siana. She seemed normal at first, but she was possibly more obsessed with vengeance than any of the rest of them combined. It wasn't even clear what the demons had done to her, but she thirsted for revenge with every fibre of her being. In terms of the Blood Elves, Raphael had suggested they were not to be trusted, twisted by addiction to arcane magic. But Vandal didn't give a shit. Too much had happened and too much had changed to really get sucked into all of that racist bollocks. All he knew was that every elf here had suffered at the hands of the Burning Legion, and that made them all brothers and sisters and stuff to him. But it was clear that he and his brothers and sisters and stuff were not the first to walk this path. There were the demonic tattooed weirdos with altered eyes, for example. It was strange. The servants and soldiers around the Black Temple seemed scared of them, and yet all of the recruits looked at them with awe and envy. They were cloaked in mystery, but one thing was certain. These tattooed fighters had killed demons. Now there were times when Vandal sensed the presence of the Burning Legion, not just in the region, but right here in the Black Temple. He'd tell himself it was because the temple housed Illidan's bound servants, but sometimes it felt like they were literally breathing down his neck. And yet when he'd turn around, he'd just see Needle or Elorisiel, but that was probably nothing to worry about. Vandal then realised that Raphael had been shaking his shoulder for quite a while, and when he turned to look, he saw that his companion was pointing at something. Illidan had arrived.
And now, we begin.
Begin what? Was Illidan finally going to share his dark knowledge? Were they finally going to learn how to kill demons rather than just spar with each other and listen to lectures?
Take a look around you. There are more than 500 of you here. By the time this is over, there will be less than 100.
Haha! Bloody Mavalith. Always laughing at inappropriate times.
You all swore you were willing to give your lives to strike at the Burning Legion. You now have a chance to prove that. Who here will be the first?
Unsurprisingly, no one moved. Everybody just kind of looked at each other. But Vandal then took a deep breath and stepped forward. I will have my vengeance or I will die. Whatever is needed, I will do.
Very well. Step into the summoning circle.
So Vandal went ahead and did that. He passed into a vast pentacle, surrounded by glowing runes. And as they began to pulse, his skin tingled, and his mouth felt dry. Illidan then spoke a word of power, causing fel energy to surge, and then suddenly, a felhound appeared, out of nowhere. And what was really weird was that it bore a startling resemblance to the one that had killed Vandal's son. The felhound then shrieked and pounced towards Vandal, so he drew his runic daggers and leapt to meet it, full of rage and full of beans. He got a few stabs in, but the felhound got a few bites in, and they burned. As Vandal stumbled back, he came to the realization that he couldn't actually leave the circle he was in. Magic was imprisoning him inside, so he really only had one choice: keep fighting. He leapt towards the beast once again, waited for it to open its jaws wide, and then plunged his dagger up through the roof of its mouth, into the place where its brain should be. And the creature keeled over, and then kind of spazzed out on the ground. Illidan walked into the circle, reached down and pulled the felhound's still beating heart right out of its chest.
Eat it.
Beg your pardon?
Eat it.
Vandal then glanced around and saw that all eyes were very much on him, and something in the betrayer's stance told him that defiance was not an option. So he took the heart in both hands, raised it to his lips, licked it a little bit, and then bit into the meat and forced himself to chew. It was tough, and quite spicy, and it tried to come back up a few times as he swallowed it. Illidan then pointed at the blood pooling around the now dead felhound.
Drink it.
Ah, for fuck's sake. Vandal bent down and scooped up some blood in his cupped hands. He was really starting to feel quite sick, but he managed to gulp down the foul liquid, and to his horror, he felt as if something was kicking inside his belly. But this disgusting meal made him pregnant. He didn't sign up for that. The betrayer then started chanting, and floaty green balls appeared, and bolts of magical energy then speared into Vandal from the balls, and it hurt a lot. Vandal now felt like his entire body was on fire. The pain was so intense that he collapsed to the ground. He was pretty sure that he was trying to kill him, and when he looked up at the betrayer, he could see that the guy had transformed. No longer did he look even remotely like a night elf. He looked 100% demon. Vandal then suddenly felt real angry. He wanted to reach up towards Illidan and choke the life from him, but he couldn't move. His body was not responding. However, his senses seemed to be picking up on all sorts of new invisible things. He could almost see the words that Illidan was chanting, and he could feel the flow of magical energy within the stones of the Black Temple. And then he passed out. The next thing Vandal saw was his own village burning. 'Twas the same old nightmare he had every time he closed his eyes. He raced through the smoke-filled streets, desperately crying out for his wife and child, whilst demons were bloody everywhere in the background. However, when Vandal reached his home, there was a brief moment where he felt hope, because his son, Cariel, smiled at him and waved, beckoned him over. That was new. But deep down, Vandal knew this was still a nightmare. He knew what was going to happen next. And then it did. The little boy seemingly vanished, but as Vandal drew nearer, Cariel reappeared. This time lay on the ground. And he wasn't smiling anymore, because a fellhound was eating him. And once again, a loud of agony shot through Vandal's heart. Sweet, sweet pain. Nobody else said that. I will feast upon your horror as I devour your soul. Although the voice was coming from within, Vandal was pretty sure it wasn't his voice. Whoever it was seemed to be enjoying this experience. However, that thought was interrupted when the fellhound that had been munching on his baby boy leapt towards him and attacked. And once again, Vandal found himself plunging his blade through fellhound flesh. Yes, take your vengeance. Feed me. Almost instinctively, Vandal lunged forward and plunged his dagger into the spot where the demon's heart should be. And yet, somehow, that still wasn't enough to kill the bastard. Such delicious agony. Both Vandal and the fellhound then started striking at each other. The demon scratchy-scratchied whilst the night elf stabby-stabbied. The pain from the monster's blows almost immobilised Vandal, but he fought through it until eventually the beast lay still on the ground, and Vandal lay beside it. Such nutritious grief. What are you? Images of Vandal devouring a still-beating demon's heart flickered through his mind. You believed you were consuming me, but I am consuming you. Vandal then felt something kick within his belly, trying to burrow its way out, trying to merge its spirit with his own. The reality of the burning village around him wavered, and he found himself back at the Black Temple, with Illidan Stormrage looking down at him. But then, the nightmare immediately returned, and walked his surroundings back to the burning village. Only this time, a massive figure loomed over him. A demon. Vandal got up and tried to rush towards it, but the intruder just effortlessly knocked him away. He then looked back towards his assailant. He could see them a little bit clearer now. They appeared to be a taller than usual night elf, with glowing tattoos and a blindfold. Betrayer! You're behind this! Vandal clutched his dagger tightly, gathered his strength and threw himself forward. Never before had he struck a blow so pure, but Illidan caught his wrist and held it. I am not the enemy here. I'm gonna kill you for what you've done. You will not be the first to try, but you are wasting your hatred. The Burning Legion did this. You serve the Legion. I serve myself. Lies. Vandal desperately tried to lean all of his weight into the dagger, but the blade did not move. Meanwhile, Illidan showed no sign of feeling any strain whatsoever. My family is dead because of you. Look around you. The demons are dead. I killed them. Lies. I arrived too late to save this place, which galls me. I was happy here once, 10,000 years ago. Vandal clenched his right hand into a fist and tried to punch Illidan, but the betrayer just blocked it. I grow tired of your petulance. I thought there was some strength in you. I witnessed you defeat that demon, armed only with a hunting knife. Are you going to stay here whimpering, or are you going to seek vengeance on those who did this? Join me, and you will have your revenge. Never. Illidan then casually backhanded Vandal away. The end of all things approaches, and I have no time to waste on fools. If you would have your vengeance, seek me out. And then, Illidan was gone, leaving Vandal alone amongst the ruins of his shattered life. He spoke the truth. You knew it as soon as you had time to absorb your grief. You spent all the long years of your wandering trying to find me, and now you have. But it won't do you any good. You are mine. The scene shimmered, and Vandal then found himself stood naked and alone, except for that fellhound again, alive and well. But one thing was different about it. It had the eyes of a night elf this time. It had his eyes, which was a bit weird. The creature then stalked forward, confidently. Vandal had no weapons and no armor, so there was nothing he could do about it. This isn't real. It is very real. If you die here in this spellborn dream, you die forever. The creature's claws then began ripping at Vandal's chest and tearing at his flesh. And it wasn't a great feeling. So, the night elf went ahead and did to the fellhound what Bane's done to Batman about 15,000 times. He picked the creature up, lifted it up high, and then snapped its spine on his knee. And just to make sure it died for reals this time, he dropped its now paralysed body on the ground and stamped on its throat. And then, driven by some inexplicable instinct, he went all Kalima, reached into its chest cavity, pulled out its heart and ate it. It tingled as it went down, but this time, he felt as if he'd gained strength from it. The nightmare then shifted again. Same place, but something was different. He still stood over the fellhound's corpse, but his own corpse was on the ground now as well. His out-of-body experience then began to rise and drift out into the great dark beyond. Outland and Azeroth were but tiny specks in the infinity. And in that moment, Vandal became aware that all around him were millions upon millions of worlds, all teeming with life, glittering with promise. As he focused on one
Confrontation
particular world,
detected.
he saw a golden land,
Fanatics
carefree
are
people
attacking.
just minding their own business. But then, a portal tore open, and the unstoppable force of the Burning Legion poured through. And they just straight up destroyed everything and everyone. Bunch of pricks. Vandal realised he was not the only parent who lost a child to these destructive maniacs. Every second of the day, thousands of people lost their children to them. They were too bloody strong. Nowhere, in all the worlds in all existence, was any force capable of defeating them. Now you know the truth. Join us.
Never.
Reality then shifted again. This is starting to get a bit annoying. Vandal now stood amid the part of the tower. Blackened bones crunching beneath his feet. Like dropped down the out of his back. The Vandal and stabbing the bastard. And once again, he opened up his chest cavity, drank its blood and devoured its heart. And once again, his mind filled with a titanic vision. Not just one universe this time, but a near infinity of them. With new worlds born each minute.
And now you learn the true lesson of the void.
Dooming all universes to an eternal darkness. And behind it all, their leaders. Archimond, who was
He swept from the Hall of Awakening into the Stone Vault. He's probably running like a frightened mouse.
Watch your step. Watch your step.
He had no idea where he was. Couldn't see anything. As he reached up to touch his face, the irony of this entire situation actually caused him to laugh out loud. He'd wanted power to kill demons, and yet now he couldn't even see. He'd wanted to oppose the
Watch your step.
and yet now strike swiftly and be gone before their enemy can do anything about it. But she soon dismissed that thought. If she could as well as at least down here, stay to business.
Watch your step.
Is that Gollum?
They were our kin once. Maybe one day they could be again. My upstairs in Sarius. She remembered he was a boy. A bunch of weirdos.
Watch your step.
How do you know?
Laser on you. Right.
Embrace it.
Watch your step. Laser on you. Right. AOE incoming.
Blessings of the light be upon you. Welcome to the Kingdom of God.
Watch your step. Laser on you. Run. Watch your step. Laser on you. Run. AOE Watch your step. Laser on you. Run.
Terrible doesn't really.
Watch your step.
Activated. The sky was burning.
Offensive measures engaged.
Thousands of us. I saw some of those floating off. Let's not talk about that, shall we?
AOE incoming.
Offensive protocols.
Seek the undoing of this new Lord of Outland. Illinois. Yes. Such a large undertaking. Are you an expert in such things?
Watch your step.
Activated.
Never ended up fighting such a mighty enemy. Never a shortage of
offensive measures engaged. Dominated trigger identified.
I was told there were those
terminated.
They might.
Watch your step.
Activated. Legion. They'd be grateful for your help with that. I felt that theirs is a worthy goal, but I feel like I can best serve the light by overcoming Illidan. He's the greatest champion the Burning Legion has in Outland. So why is he at war with them? I don't know. Could be a trick. He's fallen out with his demonic overlords before, but he always worms his way back into their data. You seem to know a lot about him. I was his jailer for 10,000 years. Oof. He must hate you. Can you arrange for me to see the Nari? You don't need an appointment. Just walk into the Terrace of Light and talk to him. That's simple. For you, your war against Illidan hasn't gone unnoticed. You said he has agents here. Would they be the Blood Elves? Perhaps. But I wouldn't be so if I were you. Cinder, I hear, are sworn to protect the city. The Scryers look most unfavourably on anyone who helps the betrayer. They betrayed him themselves. Really? Prince Kel'Thas sent them here to lay waste to our...
Watch your step.
They were mighty forces.
Laser on you. Run. Watch your step. Laser on you. Run. AOE incoming.
Alexius then noticed Maiev was looking increasingly angry, so he decided not to carry on pressing the matter. I appreciate the help. No probs. There's one more person you could talk to. Khadgar. I believe he's from your world. Tell me about him. I've heard some stories. He's a human. Some say he's a hero who sacrificed himself to close the dark portal between Azeroth and Draenor. Others claim he was the apprentice of Medivh, though. It hardly seems like a recommendation to trust him. The Naru do. Well, I'm not sure I can. Probably just as well he's not currently here, then. He was dispatched to the Netherstorm to investigate some strange appearances. You seem to know a lot, Alexius. I'm an innkeeper. We hear things. Well, I'm
Watch your step. Laser on you. Run. Watch your step. Laser on you. Run. AOE incoming.
Means returning to his incarceration.
Watch your step. Laser on you. Watch your step. Laser on you. AOE incoming.
The moment it no longer does, he'll crawl back to his masters on his belly as he always has.
Watch your step.
It's not hatred. I seek justice for those he's killed. Those he will kill. You cannot tell me that you believe that Illidan is any better than the Burning Legion. You have no concept of the true nature of the Burning Legion, Warden Shadowsong. And you do. We have opposed it for 1,000 times your lifetime. We shall oppose it until the end of all that is. You must find your own path. You are not without allies here, even if you cannot see that. The Chief Magister of the Scryers waits to speak with you. The Blood Elf, one of your people. They are not my people. They turned their back on my people long ago. I would have nothing to do with those heretics. That would be your choice. Maiev was furious, but she decided to rein it in. She bowed, turned on her heel, and then started to leave without even saying goodbye. Some of the nearby Blood Elves audibly gasped at the sheer audacity of it. But that only made Maiev feel all the more pleased with herself. A tall Blood Elf even tried to approach her and speak, but she just swept by him and continued. Sod the lot of them. After Vandal awoke from his vision, he was understandably a bit worse for wear. His head was spinning. All the while, the demon meat in his stomach was still trying to fight its way free, because he was dry heaving quite a bit as well. But what was weird was that although the thought of eating it sickened him, he was also craving more. All around him he could hear screams and moans, and the air itself smelled of rotting flesh, gangrene, pus and poop. At regular intervals, he'd hear the clippity-clop of hooves moving around on the stone floor, and somebody would swab him with a sponge every now and then, which annoyed him a little bit, because he just wanted to be left alone. Rogan Moon! Demon Moon! That voice seemed familiar, but Vandal couldn't quite place it. Demons approach! Demons approach! The sound of leathery wings then snapped, and Vandal could feel the air swirl around his face. On your feet. You have rested long enough. What's the point? Can't see. I thought the same once. I now see to the end of the universe. It's closer than most think. I know. And you also know what we fight, and why. But how can we fight them? It's impossible. Apocalyptic visions then flooded Vandal's mind, all whilst his demonic passenger snickered in the background. Stand up. Vandal immediately lurched to his feet, and the world spun once more. But a clawed hand dug into his shoulder and held him upright. I can't see! You can see everything. Vandal's head then spun faster. There were somehow writhing worms of light flickering around his field of vision, if you can call it that. He reached out with his hand, trying to slap him away, but that didn't really achieve anything. And as he twisted round to where Illidan stood, he saw a blaze of light that appeared to be wing-shaped. You tricked me. You told me you'd give me the power to fight demons, to avenge my family. I have given you all that and more. Illidan's blazing aura then moved, and Vandal turned his head, tracking it, and he found himself biting his lips so hard that he'd drawn blood. He was bloody furious. So furious, in fact, that he sprang forward and tried to punch the wing-shaped blaze of light. But something knocked his feet from under him, and he hit the ground, and rolled towards another swirling aura. As he reached it, he felt the contact of flesh, and heard a feverish voice, being all like, yeah. He sniffed the air, and smelled soiled bandages, and the tainted odour of demon, and it made him real hungry. So hungry that he sprang forward again, and bit into the appendage of whatever this other swirling mass of groaning light was. But a powerful hand caught him by the neck, and lifted him into the air. Enough. You must learn to control that which lies within you, or it will control you.
Many deals for a friend of the Good fortune to our friends.
To make him calm down. He was still bloody furious. Illidan was keeping him from his prey. However, as he turned back towards the betrayer's glowing aura, he noticed it become sharper and blaze even brighter. It seemed to shift into new patterns as Illidan moved his fingers and arms. And Vandal realised he was observing fell magic being bound to Illidan's will as the betrayer drew upon its power. And a second or so later, a bolt of it leapt from Illidan's finger and struck Vandal right in the chest. But that definitely hurt enough to make him calm down. Enough to clear his head and finally realise what was happening to him. The demon had vowed. still within me, isn't it?
Yes, and it wants to be free.
How can I control it?
Walk with me.
Why are you helping me?
Because you know who the true enemy is. Because you have great potential. I have need of fighters like you before the end.
Still dizzy and weak, Vandal picked himself off the ground once again, and then looked around and had a little think about the flickering lights and stuff. He was somehow perceiving where things were, without having any eyes.
Is this how you see the world? Your mind becomes accustomed to it eventually. There will come a time when you are able to perceive the world as you once did.
You're saying I'll be able to shift from seeing things like this to seeing as if I had eyes?
In many different ways as well. In a way, it is like working magic. You get a feel for the flows of power, a sense of the souls of the living and the unliving.
Illidan and Vandal then walked towards a doorway. Vandal could sense its lack of density in the air. He also sensed there were living things beyond it. Powerful beings, and they were waiting for something. But he still managed to collide into a table as he walked through.
Lie down on it.
Why?
You are about to receive your first tattoos.
Vandal fumbled at the table with his hands, felt the texture of it, and realised his sense of touch was something he'd always taken for granted. He could feel every grain of the wood, every knot, and every splinter. He could also feel areas that were slightly rougher, as if the carpenter had got to a certain point and then been like, whatever, the table's finished. He then lay down on the table, and leather straps snapped into place around him, which caused him to panic a little bit.
You will learn to do these for yourself one day, but for now, you must accept them from others. Be still. This will hurt.
Someone else in the room then leaned forward. Something so hot it felt cold touched Vandal's flesh, and he wanted to scream. The voice inside his head was not enjoying this, and Vandal could feel its fear spread through him. This was a trap. Evil magic was it. The needle stabbed in once more, and pain blasted Vandal's entire body. Probably the most pain he felt since he pulled his own eyes out. He started thrashing about, trying to free himself, but the restraining bands were doing their job pretty well. As the needle stabbed again and again though, the voice in his head started to grow weaker and weaker, and the panic and fear he felt began to subside. And then it was over. The straps holding him down were undone, and he was allowed to rise from the table. Now that's over.
The worst is just beginning.
Sometime later, Vandal was in a small cell-like room. But Vandal had been in this cell since receiving his tattoos. It had taken him the whole day to recover from that experience. But now he felt okay-ish. As he lay there, he touched and checked his empty eye sockets. They were still empty. Next, Vandal started to feel his new tattoos. But as he traced the ink, he felt something else embedded in his skin. Something weird. The places around his body that had been touched by demon blood had transformed. He'd acquired scales. He also now had sharp claws and sharp fangs. And this transformation had occurred after he'd received his new mystical tattoos. And all of this combined made Vandal feel extremely depressed. He was turning into the thing he hated most. Suicidal thoughts then entered Vandal's mind, and he felt compelled to reach over to the bedside table where his knife lay, but he stopped himself. He wasn't thinking clearly. Something was affecting his mind.
You are seeing clearly. You are seeing yourself as you are. Illidan is mad. You are mad.
Maybe the voice was right. Maybe he was insane. He'd always suspected it. Vandal then felt overwhelmed by self-loathing, picked up his knife, and inserted it under the edge of one of his new scales, and then cut it out. In his mind, if he could remove all the scales, he could stop the transformation. Like a surgeon cutting out a patch of gangrene. Vandal continued to cut again and again, until he was absolutely covered in blood, and it wasn't until he started to feel dizzy and weak from losing so much of his own blood that he realised he might actually die from doing this. A thought that seemed to make something within him laugh hysterically. Oh, balls. The demon was still toying with him, tapping into his dark thoughts and self-hatred. So he stood up, fumbled his way out into the corridor. Another one! Get a karma! And then he passed out. Some more time later, Vandal awoke. Again. Someone was stood over him, and they smelled like a broken.
You are a karma? Yes, you are Vandal. You've clearly impressed Lord Illidan. He asked me to look after you personally. Are you a healer? I am. I do what I can to help the sick and the wounded. And which am I? Sick or wounded? Bit of both, I would say. And something else as well. There's a taint in you. I'm not a big fan of it. Well, thank you for your help, anyway. You're welcome. You're lucky the guards found you in time. You're the 5th new recruit that's attempted suicide in the past 2 days. But you're the only one that's lived. I did not attempt suicide. Well, what would you call it then? You hacked at your own flesh until you almost bled to death. You would have, if you'd hit an artery. What has Illidan done to you? You don't know. All I know is that Lord Illidan takes many of your people into that courtyard and only a few come out. And those of you that do survive are altered beyond recognition. If he's trying to create an army, He's chosen a funny way of doing it. Lord Illidan has his reasons. If he wants you to know, he'd share them with you. Well, that's true, I suppose. There's a good deal of things that occur in this temple that it's best not to ask about.
As if to emphasize that point, a mighty bellow sounded from deep below ground. The stones of the temple seemed to vibrate in time to the roaring.
Another monster bound in the temple's defense.
But Vandal wasn't listening to Akama anymore, because he was fixated on something the Broken had said but a few moments ago. 4 others had killed themselves. Bloody hell. When Illidan had said that about 1 in 5 recruits would make it, Vandal had assumed the betrayer was talking about the ritual itself. Things really were just beginning, and the worst of it still lay ahead. Illidan walked into his council chamber, with Akama following at his heels like a faithful little doggy. Akama had been doing everything possible to look like a loyal servant recently, mainly because he was concerned that Virus Dark Shadow's agents were watching him. But as they entered, all eyes were very much on Illidan, eyes filled with fear, because the Burning Legion had struck hard. Prince Kel'Thas had gone missing, and all in all, their war was not going very well. Illidan strode forward and inspected the map table in the middle of the room. There were little flags dotting almost every province of Outland. Each of these marks a new forge camp, Lord Illidan. The Burning Legion has set up bases all over, fortified them, but I've been putting together contingency plans to assault them and throw the demons back.
And how exactly do you intend to do that? Each of those forge camps contains a transporter. They can be reinforced by demons at a moment's notice.
Lord Illidan, we closed Mactheridan's portals with your aid. Surely we can close these.
Every time we close a portal, another appears. Gil'jaeden can draw upon near infinite forces.
Lady Melinda gave a nervous giggle. Apparently, this conversation was not going the way she expected it to. You will lead us to victory, Lord. I have every faith in you. These new soldiers you've been forging, if they are all as strong as Varidus, Neferel, and Elandian, they'll surely be able to slaughter the demons. Illidan stared at Melinda for quite a while. She seemed to know an awful lot about the demon hunters. Had she been spied? Yeah, probably. All of the Illidan Council likely had spies in place. But how much had Melinda uncovered? The demon hunters represented the most important part of Illidan's plan, so secrecy was kind of essential. He couldn't risk the Nathrezim finding out what he was up to before he was ready to launch his attack. However, Illidan realised he had not actually shared his ultimate goal with anyone else, so it was probably his own fault that Melinda was aware of certain things. He'd need to be more careful around her in future. The betrayer then found himself wishing that Lady Vash was here. She was straightforward, loyal, but she was still in Zangarmarsh, supervising the draining of the marshland. It was the first step towards controlling all of this shattered realm. If you control the water, you control the people. And if you control the people, then job's a good one. Illidan then switched his gaze over to Virus Dark Shadow.
Have your agents found out anything concerning Kel'Thas's fate?
They found the last camp of his army, but then nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing significant, my lord.
No sign of a struggle?
None. It's as if the prince just opened a portal and vanished. Seems to me like he doesn't want to be found. Illidan could hear what Virus was implying. Kel'Thas was a traitor. It was possible. Gil'jaeden had shown particular interest in the Blood Elf Prince, but if that was true, if Kel'Thas had indeed turned, he might have left spies behind. And some of them may well even be in this room. So Illidan decided to play it cool in order to avoid making any of them wary.
Let's not jump to any conclusions, Virus. Just find him.
As you wish, Lord. Virus's eyes then flashed quickly over to Akama, which Illidan noticed.
All of you are dismissed, except you, Dark Shadow. I would have words with you concerning the whereabouts of Maev's Shadowsong.
So, all the other council members filed out. Akama paused in the doorway, as if he wanted to say something, but then thought better of it, and left as well. Meanwhile, Maev and Anindra were riding an elevator up the side of Aldor Rise. Sarius was also present, although he wasn't in the elevator. He'd taken his bird form and was ascending with them. He was there to watch and observe. Maev didn't necessarily expect the Aldor to prove treacherous, but traitors are often found in the most surprising places. As they reached the top, Maev felt like she definitely should have brought more guards with her. They were outnumbered.
I had many
Guards
lucky
approached and
dudes
greeted
you
Maev.
like.
They didn't seem hostile, but they made it pretty clear that the warden was under observation, and then led her to the so-called Shrine of Unending Light. Blessings of the light upon you. I am Ishana, Princess of the Aldor. I've been told that you would have words with me. I've come seeking the aid of those who follow the light. You seek to slay the one called the Betrayer? Or imprison
I
him?
have an extended
Why?
supply of
Because he's
goods
evil.
for Outlanders.
We do not have such strength that we can afford to throw it away assaulting the Black Temple. It is all we can do to hold our ground, and we serve other functions. Maiev had another look around at the luxurious cushions, and she noted that Ishana herself was garbed in rich robes. Sometimes defeating evil means getting your hands dirty, and sometimes getting your hands dirty turns you to evil. In order to work with the light, you must be pure of heart, and you think I'm not. I think you do what you believe is right. What I do is right. So you're not going to help me. At this moment, I cannot or will not. There are other struggles than your own, Warden Shadowsong. Some of them even more important. Nothing is more important than the overthrow of Illidan. Perhaps to you. We Aldor have different priorities. Once again, the Warden felt frustrated. Why was it so bloody difficult to get the people of Outland to see the importance of her mission? However, that thought was interrupted by a tingling sensation against her boob. It was from the stone that Akama had given her, and she was kind of grateful that he was trying to arrange a meeting, because she really didn't want to continue this shit conversation with Ishana anymore. I thank you for your time, and ask your permission to depart. But Maiev didn't wait for Ishana's permission to depart. She just turned around and left. Felt really smug about it. A short time later, Maiev was making her way towards her meeting with Akama. He'd arranged to meet her at the Refuge of the Broken, which was a run-down, stinky tavern in the lower parts of Shatrath City. And when she arrived, 2 Ashton guards that minded the door let her pass without comment. Great news. Prince Kel'Thas is missing, along with some of his army. It's likely that he's abandoned the betrayer. Well, if that's true, then Illidan has lost one of the great props to his power. Maiev let those words hang in the air. Akama had always refused to commit his people because Illidan was supported by Kel'Thas and Lady Vash. But now, Kel'Thas was out of the picture. Illidan may have found a new source of power. What is it? I'm not certain, which is why I wanted to talk to you. They're recruited entirely from your people. My people. Elves. Desperate, ruthless elves. With a grudge against the Burning Legion. He takes them and kills them. What? He infuses them with fell magic. Most of them die during the process, and those that live are changed. There's something in them that reeks of the demonic. He's transforming elves into demons. He's remaking them in his own image. They get tattoos like his. He teaches them magic, and all of it happens behind closed doors. I'm doing my best, but this is difficult and dangerous work. If I ask too many questions, I may be found out. And if Illidan learns of our association, I'm worse than dead. I must move cautiously. Cautiously. There's always cautiously with me. You don't know what it's like. Every time I leave the Temple of Kalimdor, I have to make up some bullshit.
Work cycle
I feel like I'm being watched.
interrupted.
I feel like Illidan may already suspect something. It then dawned on Maiev that she had been a little bit of a bitch. Akama was clearly frightened, and he had every reason to be. Look, it's not the first time tattooed fighters have appeared around the temple. There have been others like this before, but never this many. I don't like this at all. Illidan seems determined to create hundreds of these creatures, if not thousands. They could change the balance of power in Outland. Time is running out. Time is certainly running out. But without Kel'Thas' support, there's a chance to unseat him. Indeed. I will return to the temple and begin preparations. If we are to move, we must move quickly, before his new army is ready. Finally, this was the moment Maiev had been waiting for. Some more time later, Akama arrived back at the Black Temple after his meeting with Maiev. Meeting her was always nerve-wracking. She was so full of rage and hate. She really didn't seem to realise she'd turned herself into the betrayer's mirror image in her pursuit of him. Akama quickly made his way through the corridors until he reached the sanctuary of his people. His bodyguard gave him a warning sign, and as he entered, he understood why. Illidan was waiting for him inside.
Akama, you've been hard to find today.
I went to Orobor Harborage. Just wanted to clear my head.
You've been doing that a lot over the past few years. Walk with me to the refectory. It's been some time since we talked. I would learn more of these jaunts of yours.
Illidan then guided Akama through to the Sanctuary of Shadows. Akama immediately noticed demons around the room moving into position, and great chains hanging from above. This did not seem like it was going to end in a pleasant conversation. Fandao had come on leaps and flips and bounds with his training in the weeks that had passed since the ritual. He regularly finished first in the Demon Hunter obstacle course, and he passed through all the obstacles without even taking a scratch. On this occasion, Siana came a close second. She smiled at him, but he could sense that she was kind of pissed off that he'd beaten her. Quite competitive, that one. Raphael came third, and then the rest finished. But who cares about them? Bunch of losers. However, they weren't the biggest losers out of everyone these past few weeks. For example, Mavalith and Celadon had grown progressively more monstrous looking as the days went by, so they went ahead and threw themselves off the roof. And Isteth went batshit crazy. Or more batshit crazy than she already had been, considering she'd lost all 3 of her kids and walked around with her baby's corpse strapped across her chest. so she went ahead and threw herself off the roof as well. The ritual itself had claimed a fair few peeps' lives. Over half the recruits just up and died before it was even over, because their hearts gave out, or their minds cracked, forcing Illidan to put them down out of mercy. Vandal had no doubt that it was their demons that had pushed them all over the edge. His own made its presence known every day, and he wasn't even certain he'd win this struggle in the long run. Some days, the depression and self-loathing were at an all-time high, and there were times when he was so filled with rage, he could barely restrain himself from running through the temple and just stabbing everyone, which was another way in which a number of recruits had died since the ritual. Suicide by temple guard. However, this new supernatural training was kind of helping. Thanks to the instructors, Vandal had begun to learn how to tap the fell powers of the demon within him. He now knew how to augment his strength and speed. He could cast bolts of fell energy capable of burning through almost anything. And he had mad leeching skills, meaning he could drain the souls of his fallen victims in order to heal himself. But despite Vandal picking up quite a bit in such a short amount of time, Varadis, Netherel and Elandian always seemed to want more from him. Try harder. Master more things, you bitch. They were as driven as Illidan, and Vandal couldn't help but think there was some greater purpose behind all of this. Like some day was coming where everything he'd learned would be put to use. Another reason he thought that was because the great ritual was being performed every day now. Every day, more and more candidates arrived, and those that survived were fed through the training system that seemed as much designed to kill the weak as to teach the strong. Kill the weak. Kill the weak. He was weak. Kill them all. Vandal had somewhat learned to ignore the asshole-ish things the demon would say to him, but one thing that was difficult to ignore was the concern that his demon was gaining a level of control. One night in particular, Vandal woke up to find himself standing, clutching his dagger, and the last thing he wanted was to end up like Tibelius, yet another recruit. Sleepwalking through cells at night and slitting throats, right up until Needle ended his nocturnal adventures by shoving skewers through the poor sod's face. So all in all, living here, in the Black Temple, felt like being locked in a cage with murderous beasts. Vandal looked around. He could see things now, as well as when he had eyes. Better, in fact. Darkness obscured nothing, but Vandal couldn't help but suspect that the demon was aiding his perception. It wanted him to master his powers, almost as if the more he mastered them, the more vulnerable he became to temptation. But it didn't matter, because Vandal wanted the strength. He was glad he could see, glad he could hear better than most, glad he was as strong as an ogre, and swifter than a lightsaber, and exhausted our young one.
I have many
I'll
wares.
get you in the sparring session, though. Don't give in too easily, mate. When you struggle, it makes my victory sweeter. Victory is sweet. Flesh is sweet as steel. A short time later, the aspirants who had gathered in the courtyard around the training ring. Everyone didn't get their chance to fight. Each ring was set up to contain a super round, fighting under the supervision of the weapons were just to make sure you landed blow and through. Raphael stepped into the circle with the safety whilst Vandal entered wielding two daggers. We're going to learn the meaning of defeat today, mate. As the battle commenced, Raphael sprang to the blazing his hand. This time,
Embrace me.
Raphael's figure then began to morph. His skin turned blacker than night, while straight beams of shadow lifted from his back. The smell of brimstone and steam filled the air, and then Raphael's strike. Both flames reflected painfully on Vandal's eyes, as they didn't realize Raphael kept striking. Vandal brought his own blade weapon to carry most of them, but one blow was to protect the temple. Shadow controlled three sides to Raphael's stand. His piercing power had overcome the walls upon the blades, and they were deadly now. was roasted, while Thundel fed even more strength into the spell. But even then, he brought more and more strength into his spell lightning with Raphael Link's skill. Thundel looked out at the spectators. He was tempted to release he then looked over at Baroness, and just shook his head, and looked at his face, and tried to do. Mr. Strawberry was currently pacing around the room. He'd calmed down a little. With the calm. He'd very nearly killed the Ashton leader, as far as he may have Shadow Song. Actually, he was bad enough. Realised he was easily calmer. So he came up with a better punishment. Not only ensured that the broken was never played again, but also created a power by living my life into a different world. So he took the soul from his body. He stopped pacing and looked down at his desk. On it was a bunch of maps and shards. When the skull was down,
Embrace
written in demon blood, and these notations were written in a language only he understood, because he made it up himself. These flows of energy between the whole of Cloudland and the destination. Not all of the portals had to be all over the floor, in blood. Not just demon blood, but elf blood, Draenei blood, any other blood he could find. And he was walking around the edge of these ruins, muttering spells of warding and shielding. He could not afford for any prying eyes to witness what he was doing. He then spoke a word of power which caused all the doors of the chamber to slam shut, and they closed so tightly. Remained lost in this
Watch your step. Watch your step. AOE incoming. Collapse. Watch your step. Embrace AOE incoming. Defensive.
that world to
Maybe
another
feels
different.
for a friend of
Mostly
Rumble.
doesn't. Didn't know what to expect, and yet it still kind of appalled him. This senseless, monstrous violence. And after a while of drifting between these dead worlds, Illidan started to get a bit anxious. Firstly, he had no idea if it had been 100 seconds since he left his body, or 100 years. Maybe his body had already died, and he was now doomed to be like this for eternity. And also, what if he'd miscalculated? What if his map had been wrong, and he was now absolutely lost? But then he passed through yet another portal, came across a world that was completely different. The collection of rocks.
Watch your step. AOE incoming. Watch your step. AOE incoming. Collapse.
A number of others were injured. Well, I think we taught them not to attack us again. They're too stupid to learn that lesson. No matter how many we kill, they'll insist on fight. And Indra looked away and almost seemed disappointed with that answer. And Maiev wished she could have given a better one.
Watch your
She
step.
wished they could take the fight to Illidan, but the Betrayer had not stirred from his fortress in weeks. Toxic felt out of deserted. At first, she'd been quite pleased to hear that Illidan was more vulnerable, but now it's become impossible to get to. However, another tingling sensation generated from near her boob, so perhaps their luck was about to change. She stepped into a patch of shadow and pulled out the stone that Akama had given her, and an image of the Ash-Tongue leader then appeared in her mind, although he looked a bit worse than that. What is it? Meet me in Oromore Harbridge. Things move swiftly. Akama sounded tired and feeble, but I had figured it was probably just some interference with the communication spell. Probably nothing to worry about. What's going on? I don't have time to explain. Meet me and be ready. The contact was then abruptly cut, and Maiev immediately stepped back out into the light and addressed her followers. Mount up. We must go to Oromore Harbridge. Some of her troops audibly groaned at that. They'd been expecting a bit of a rest after their battle with the ogres, but the long-awaited hour had finally arrived. It was a chance to finally capture the betrayer, so Maiev didn't give a shit what they wanted. A short time later, Maiev was patiently
AOE incoming. Watch your step. AOE incoming. Watch your step. AOE incoming. Collapse.
temple that we can't reach it. To perform this ritual, he's going to have to leave the temple. You want me? The portal can only be opened at a specific time and place. That place is not within the Temple of Caribou.
How can you be so certain of this?
I managed to get a glimpse of his scrolls and maps.
Maps of where?
The Hand of Gul'dan.
The volcano? Why there?
It's a location where enormous powers are focused. Gul'dan severed the Orc's connection to the elemental spirits there.
I assume Illidan will be well guarded.
On the contrary, all the signs point to the fact that he plans to move in great cities. He's only assembling supplies for a few.
And how do you know that?
He's talked to me about needing to make a trip in the utmost secrecy within the next few days.
Why has he talked to you about this?
Ever since Kel'Thas left, Illidan has taken me more and more into his confidence. He needs someone to take charge of the temple whilst he's away, and he doesn't trust the Illidari council members. Plus he thinks I'm too lacking in ambition to plot behind his back.
So this is definitely happening.
I've never seen him like this before. He's consumed with excitement. It's as if a plan he's held for a very long time is finally coming to fruition. Something to do with all those elves he's been training.
Will they be there?
No. Their leaders have been told to stay at the temple until further notice. I imagine they'll be ordered to come if the ritual proves to be successful, but I don't think he wants to risk them if it's not. He values them that high. They're the apple of his eye. He spends more time with them than he does planning the defense of his empire. It's weird. They represent something very important to him, but I can't figure out what. Probably find out within the next few days, though.
So who will accompany him for the ritual?
According to the duty rosters, small groups of sorcerers are being dispatched from the temple. All of them are wizards of considerable strength, and all of them are well practiced in ritual magic.
How many of them, exactly?
There will be 13 groups of 13 assembled on the slopes of the volcano. The number has mystical significance. It ties in with the number of nodes on the pattern he's trying to create.
Mayev didn't like the sound of that. What's that, like 169 wizards? That could prove a significant threat.
Not if they're all involved in a complex ritual when the attack comes.
Are you absolutely certain of this?
As certain as I can be of anything. I believe the betrayer will be on the slopes of the Hand of Gul'dan, and that he will have sorcerers with him. He intends to perform a mighty ritual and open a portal to somewhere. Don't know where. Perhaps he plans to escape to another world, where the Legion has not yet established a beachhead.
Mayev definitely didn't like the sound of that either. She couldn't let Illidan escape her grasp again. It would be just like him to bail on his followers. But this still didn't explain what he was planning with his demonic elven trainees.
Look, take your forces to the slopes of the volcano and investigate. If I'm wrong, you've got nothing to lose. If I'm right, this is the best chance you've got of capturing your great foe.
And what about you? Where will you be?
I'll be with you. I want to be there when you overthrow the betrayer. Me and my people will help.
Mayev then paused for a second.
Akama, yeah?
I've been critical of you and your people in the past, but today, you've proved that my thoughts were unworthy. We shall bring Illidan down together. Akama then took a deep breath, but did not break eye contact with Mayev at all.
I pray that you're right.
I will tell my people to be ready. We have far to go and very little time to do it in.
I will open a way for you and then return to prepare my people. The time has come, Mayev, to take vengeance.
No, not vengeance. Justice.
Okay, well, however you want to look at it, this is our chance to achieve it. Let us overthrow Illidan. Let us free Outland from his wickedness, and let the Temple of Caribou be returned to my people.
It shall be done. The ground in Shadowmoon Valley trembled as the Hand of Gul'dan tried to make up its mind whether it wanted to erupt or not. Green lava flowed slowly but surely down the slopes of the mountain, and all around, magical power surged. Akama had been correct. A ritual of immense power was being enacted here, and Mayev couldn't help but think that the magnitude of this spell was probably causing the pre-shocks from the volcano, and would likely result in a full-blown eruption at the end. She and her people had kept to the shadows, moving from rock to rock, silent as assassins. Or the Night Elves had anyway. The Draenei and Broken didn't exactly move with the same stealth, with their clippity-clop hooves and shit. Akama looked very uneasy, which wasn't surprising. Based on what had happened to his world in the past, the shaking of a mountain must have been ever so slightly disturbing for him. But he'd brought scores of Ash-Tongue soldiers with him, so that was cool. Akama had also been correct about the number of sorcerers that would be here. 13 groups of 13 stood in circles weaving their great spell. Some were Blood Elves, some were Naga, but all of them seemed pretty capable. They were spread over the mountain, each of them representing a point in a great pattern. And at the centre of the pattern, where all their energies converged, was an altar. And as Mayev looked towards the altar, she smiled. there he was, the betrayer himself, looking all smug. And he was weaving the energies being directed towards him into a swirling vortex of potency. Maiev paused to consider the magnitude of the gateway they were opening. There was a lot of energy centered on one spot, so it was going to be pretty big. Either Illidan was hoping to bring a being of truly awesome power here, or he was trying to bridge a gap between a unimaginable distance. But what if? Maiev wasn't going to give him the chance to finish this spell. It was time to move. So, she glanced once more at Akama, who nodded back to her, and then raised a hand to signal the attack. Sarius leapt from the shadows in his cat form and ripped a Blood Elf magician's throat out, and the rest of the sorcerers in that group didn't even react. They were so wrapped up in their spell. The Draenei and Broken then charged down slope, brandishing their weapons and invoking powerful offensive and defensive spells, and they quickly took out a whole bunch of sorcerers as well. And yet, the Magi just kept on casting. Maiev then used Blink and teleported over to a group of Naga, quickly sliced her way through all of them.
My directive is
Things
to
were going
serve
pretty well.
you.
Now, it was entirely possible that if they killed enough sorcerers, the spell could run out of control, and the backlash of that unleashed magic could be catastrophic. But Maiev didn't give a shit. She didn't care if she died too, as long as the spell destroyed Illidan. But she'd much rather kill him with her own blades, just to be certain, so she sprinted towards the altar. But as she got nearer, the betrayer's head swiveled to look directly at her. He then flashed a cheeky smile, raised his warblades, and invoked a spell that had nothing to do with the ritual taking place all around them. And in an instant, a whole bunch of portals started opening around Maiev and the rest of her troops. And through them poured hundreds upon hundreds of Naga and Felorks. Oh dear. Maiev knew their only hope now was to throw these reinforcements back through the gateways. The portal mouths weren't huge, so her peaks could bottleneck them for a time. Sooner or later, Illidan's forces would prevail, but that wasn't the point. She just needed more time to reach the betrayer and put an end to him. So she barked her orders. Unfortunately though, Illidan must have known she'd try that, because he just opened more portals. Maiev and her forces were now well and truly outnumbered, and outflanked. Out of sheer desperation, Maiev raced towards her foe, but Illidan just spread his wings and leapt into the sky. And as Maiev sensed even more magic being woven behind her, she turned around and saw Lady Vash, unleashing a powerful spell which caused most of Maev's troops to just fall to the ground and stop moving. And it was at this point that Maiev realised it was entirely possible she was going to lose. A whole bunch of Felorks charged at her, a bolt of pure cold then shivered through her body. Lady Vash made contact with a spell, and Maiev could no longer move. Another group of Felorks rushed towards her, rabid and dribbling and raising their axes. But an arrow then whizzed through the air, burying itself in a Felork's throat. And Indra, you beautiful bastard. Sarius then leapt in from the side, shifted to his bare form and drew the hate off Maiev from her attackers. We have to get out of here. Maybe, and Indra was right. There weren't many of Maev's troops left. A handful of Draenei and Broken, and Indra and Sarius. And that was about it. Maybe they did need to run and fight another day. And what if this was their only chance? A monstrous shadow then passed overhead, and looking up, Maiev saw Illidan, laughing, and that's when things got real horrific. Long tentacles of darkness reached down and touched the wounded and dying all around the battlefield, and when they did so, the victims screamed in agony and aged years in a heartbeat. Their very souls were being devoured. It wasn't just the wounded and dying either. The tentacles were touching corpses as well. With every soul absorbed, black spheres swirling above the battlefield grew larger and darker, and a shimmering hole appeared in the air above the altar, feeding on the souls of the fallen. Maiev then caught a glimpse of Akama. He'd known about this trap. The slaughter was not part of the plan. You said we were supposed to capture Maiev. Well, that answers that question. All of this had been a scheme concocted by Illidan and that treacherous Broken twat. Maiev was furious. We will capture Maiev, Akama. There are other things that need to be done this day. Akama screamed and raised his fist. Chained lightning circled his fingers. For a second, it looked like he was going to hurl it at Illidan, but he didn't. He just teleported away. Let's not rise. We'll make our stand there. And Indra nodded, but then her eyes went wide with shock, because an orcish blade had just pierced her back and come out the other end through her chest. Blood poured from her mouth as a muscular red arm reached around her neck and snapped it, and then she was dead. Sarius' roar of grief vibrated through the air and he hurled himself forward, and although he managed to take down Indra's killer, more Felorks appeared and hacked him to pieces, and then he was dead. Maiev then became enraged and sprang to her feet. Thanks to pure adrenaline, she started to chop her way through Felork after Felork. Maiev was bleeding from 1,000 cuts and knew she was going to die, but she was going to take as many of Illidan's henchmen with her as she could. But as the black lightning above flickered, and tentacles came down and touched the fellow corpses lay at Mayev's feet, she realised that all she'd done was aid Illidan in the casting of a spell. More corpses and souls to be absorbed in order to crack a hole in the fabric of reality. Illidan hovered over the carnage, looking down in triumph, and as Mayev's gaze met his, dark energy descended from his fist like the spear of an angry god. It struck Maiev, and she fell back down to the ground again, and all she could do was lie there as the beat of mighty wings grew louder and louder.
Now you are my prisoner.
And as Maiev tried to use the last remnant of her strength to pick herself up, Illidan just straight up knocked her out. Peter Okama seemingly teleported away in the last chapter. He didn't actually leave, just walked a bit further upslope, out of sight and out of mind, still observing the massive gateway Illidan was opening. He was furious and a little bit terrified. The gateway itself was bad enough. The Ashtag leader could feel the unholy strength of it, even from his vantage point. It had devoured hundreds of souls and sucked in all the magical energy from leagues around. And Okama still didn't have a bloody clue what it was even for. But one thing was certain. Illidan's plans had layers, complex layers, like some kind of Rubik's Cube onion or something. But even though Okama almost admired Illidan's genius, he was still pissed off at him. The betrayer had betrayed, broken his promise to spare the broken. Their souls had been harvested just like Mayev's followers during the battle, just to open this goddamn mystery gateway. Now, you might be wondering why Okama even assisted Illidan with this trap in the first place. The betrayer had already used sorcery to rip a portion of Okama's soul out of his body, so why would he help that guy? Well, Illidan had turned that portion of Okama's spirit into a shade, and that shade could not only devour Okama if he stepped out of line again, but could also corrupt the rest of the Ashtag people. And Okama kind of liked his people, so he was damned if he did and damned if he didn't, really, for all the good that did him. He'd chosen his own over Maiev, and yet the broken was slaughtered, and Maiev had been delivered right into the clutches of her archenemy. And her archenemy was now standing triumphantly over her. Okama shuddered at the thought of what Illidan planned to do to Maiev. She had become the focus of his rage, hatred and grievances, so it wasn't likely that Illidan was going to grant her a quick death, involving tickles and hugs. The betrayer's great spell then shrieked to a climax. The split reality looked like some kind of oil spill. But inside the swirling vortex, Okama caught glimpses of an alien world. The army that had ambushed Maiev and her forces then approached the portal. They didn't enter it though, they just started standing guard over it. And Okama couldn't help but think that was probably just in case something came through from the other end. More portals then opened, and a new force emerged, consisting of the elven tattooed fighters from the Black Temple. Looked like the army Illidan had been training was finally going to see some action. Okama then watched them move en masse beneath the betrayer's gaze, and the resemblance between them and their master struck Okama more so now than ever before. They were just like him, might as well be his kids. Meanwhile, Vandal could feel the energy in the air. His skin was all tingly, and the enormous portal was almost calling to him. The area around the gate looked as if an ancient battle had taken place. If Vandal hadn't known better, he would have thought this the site of some long ago war. But his spectral sight revealed the truth. This battle wasn't old. It was new. Now, an hour ago, Vandal would have said this was just another normal day. There had been an increase in solar activity in the temple recently, more drills than usual, and rumours of sorcerers leaving the temple. But as for the demon
Now you learn the true lesson of the
right up
void.
until a few moments ago, when some horns sounded, Baroness told them to assemble in the courtyard with their weapons prepared. And now they were here. One thing that did surprise Vandal when he arrived was that the spell opening the gateway had not distinguished between those who fought for it and those who fought against it. Whether that was why he and his whatever their purpose was, defeats, but this wasn't the time to be thinking about crap like that. Sensing the nervousness, infernals, and all sorts of other things. But from the demons' perspective, as they arrived and came to a halt on the plain below, Illidan was on his own. They couldn't see all the demon hunters because they were concealed with powerful magic, and the greatest of dreadlords just sort of The temptation was strong.
Embrace
It would be the
who you
simplest of actions
truly are.
for Vandal to plunge his daggers into Illidan's back. For a second, the army of the Nazis hesitated, not because they were scared, quite the opposite. They still couldn't really understand why such a small force was standing against them. Just know that Vandal doesn't give a shit about you.
Embrace who you truly are.
The only thing he regretted about having behind the remaining dreadlords, who didn't do anything, was washed, and the demon hunters all stopped what they were doing, looked at him, and all those dreadlords could do was crap themselves as the tide of fighters surged forward and engulfed them. And then it was over. Any doubts Illidan had before the battle were gone. His forces far exceeded his expectations, but time was of the essence. As soon as the Burning Legion realised what had happened here, they would react accordingly. No matter how amazing the demon hunters are, they can still be overcome by enough enemies. So Illidan gave the signal to advance. They moved quickly through the Nathrezine city, overwhelming any enemies they encountered. Illidan really wanted to fight as well, but opening the portal to get here had drained a great deal of his power, and he was reserving anything he had left, just in case an unexpected threat emerged. Soon enough, they arrived at a great tower housing the archive of the Dreadlords, a place containing countless secrets. However, a wall of stone blocked the entrance. Blast it. So the demon hunters raised their hands and sent hundreds of bolts of fell flame into the barrier, but it didn't achieve anything. Concentrate on one area. So they did that, and it worked. Illidan then entered and glanced down the long ramp leading to the depths below. He was close now, so very close. Illidan decapitated the Moag ambusher with one stroke of his warblade, and continued his way through the central archive of the Dreadlords. Countless obsidian discs were stacked high on either side of the room, each of which contained records of important Burning Legion stuff. But there was only one disc in particular that Illidan was interested in finding. He'd asked the demon hunters to wait outside the room, hold the doorway. He'd be out in about 5 minutes or something. Illidan then crossed his arms and began to weave a spell. Tendrils of magic flashed from his hands.
I have many wares.
Images and splinters of knowledge appeared in his mind. Every triumph, every conquest, every plot. These were the living memories of the Nathrazine race. And as the betrayer scanned his way through them, he began to understand the system in which the discs had been organised. The oldest discs were located near the bottom of each stack, and the oldest stacks were located closest to the centre of the room. So he sent his magical tendrils racing towards the middle stacks, as he was looking for old knowledge. Suddenly, Illidan became aware of the sounds of fighting. They seemed like they were coming from a great distance away, but he knew that was only because of the spell.
Embrace me.
how he was going to torture her.
Watch your step. Watch your step. Attack interrupt. Watch your step.
Again and again.
Embrace. Run out. Watch your step.
If they'd listened to
Susan's
fault it really was. At the end of the day, she'd failed. And as a result, Illidan was not only free, but stronger than ever. There was nothing she could do about it. She was stuck in this cage entirely at his whim. He got to decide whether she lived or died, and right now, he was completely ignoring her, to let her know just how insignificant she really was. And that was worse than any insult or torture or piss food could ever be. Curse that bastard of karma. She'd believed in that jerk. When had his betrayal started, and why had she not spotted it? Had this been the plan from right back when they first met? Nah, she wasn't that gullible. The karma must have meant some of what he'd said. His resentment of what Illidan had done to their precious temple was real enough. But there was a moment where he seemed different. Their last meeting, when he looked older and weaker. Illidan must have done something to him.
Attack shield. Watch your step.
And as she looked up,
Watch your step. Crowd control. Attack shield. Watch your step. Watch your step. Attack shield. Watch your step. Discharge boss. Watch your step. Watch your step. Watch your boss. Watch your step. Dispel boss. Run for.
Think about what Illidan's plans were, because the sort of
attack shield. Run for. Attack shield. Run for. Run for. Interrupt. Embrace. Attack shield. Run for. Attack shield. Run for. Run for.
Face me, necromancer. Thanatos will be avenged.
I'm so eager to share your unman's fate. Your vaunted courage
that wasn't entirely true. Illidan had retreated to his sanctum for a few days after they returned, but once the betrayer emerged with a new plan, they'd spent almost all of their time in against the burning. They were upset with revenge. To strike at the Legion. Sometimes he came with them, sometimes he didn't, and there didn't seem to be any rhyme or reason for that. But enough standing around thinking stuff. Vandal then strode over to Illidan's side.
Anything to report, Night Stalker?
The perimeters are secure, Lord. We do not appear to be under any immediate threat.
I would not be too sure of that.
Lord?
I think the Burning Legion has finally worked out what I'm doing.
How would they do that?
Perhaps they still have spies left in our ranks. Only one of these canisters contains the Hellstones I seek. The rest are full of rocks.
Vandal concentrated on the metal cylinders with his spectral sight and saw immediately what his overlord meant. One of the boxes blazed with contained energy, and the others didn't. You think this is a trap?
Possibly. Or merely a deception intended to lure us to a different place. Seems this high-low
Watch your step. Watch your step. Interrupt. Frontal.
So, you are the ones who think of my code. You don't look like much, and you look like just another Doom guard. Have you come to see if you can get vengeance for the doom of your brethren's homeworld?
That was well done. Destruction wreaked upon the destroyers. No, I've not come to seek vengeance. I've come to kill you.
Others have tried. I shall pen you next to Magtheridon and use your blood to build my armies.
My blood would burn your little pets.
I have charted the portals you've been opening. Stormwind, Orgrimmar, Silithus. You seek to invade Azeroth once more, do you not?
And I've studied your reaving of our forces. You seek to build another gateway, don't you?